Hello there. Welcome to Ewok Talk, a podcast about all things Star Wars. Back at it again, I'm Nicholas Koss, here with my great co-hosts.
Regular Mo.
And Diana.
Regular Diana.
No, I'm special.
Regular flavored Mo.
I'm special,
But-
limited edition Diana.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we start things off, I think, Diana, you wanted to mention?
Funny coincidence. On our last episode of Ewok Talk, we went over Genndy Tartakovsky.
I think it's Tartakovsky.
Yeah, Tartakovsky's
Yep.
Clone Wars. And it just so happens that that very series is now is going to be available on Disney Plus.
That's
so
right.
you are all welcome. It was in direct response to our last episode. So very exciting news.
You can thank us in likes and comments and subscriptions. Thank you.
And to the anonymous Disney executives listening in, we appreciate you.
Hey, Kathy.
How's it going?
Yeah, I had someone who messaged me directly and was like, oh, hey, bro, like, that shit's been on YouTube for, like, the past 5 years, right? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm aware. Like, that's how we watched it. I was like, thanks, man. But I think it's actually important that it is on Disney Plus because, one, it's going to definitely introduce newer fans and younger people to the show that aren't, specifically searching for it on YouTube. And it's just cool to have Disney acknowledge it, like actually, like, because it kind of felt like they were in a way saying like it wasn't really worth being with their other Star Wars content, And then also people have recently been more interested in this character named Geode from the new High Republic books and media. He's just a rock. That's all I got to say about him.
We read an article and the person who created the character was like, I have to give credit to my boyfriend because he's the one who came up with the idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
well,
The bar for men is on the floor, ladies. Like, I'm telling you. Hey, babe, can you come up with a character? Rocker.
rock.
space rock.
Yeah, wow.
I'll support you, babe.
I like Geode. He's probably going to be a character everyone's going to remember. That's for sure. You guys want to actually jump into the main topic then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
And now, the feature presentation. Hi, guys.
Here we go.
This episode, we're going to take a deep dive into this sequel trilogy and dissect why fans have been going bananas over it and why it's caused so much divide in the Star Wars community. As I think we've all talked about off the podcast, this has been a draining experience researching all of this stuff and really mentally trying to prepare for this episode. I wanted to be as informed as possible, I didn't want to come at this with just baseless opinions on things. I wanted to really have a deep understanding of like how this trilogy was made and why the decisions were taken before we got into it. And that just took all of my mental energy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we all wanted to approach this with like, just to have a genuine conversation about it rather than, this not Star Wars or anything like that. We just,
right.
Just as fans of the series and like different aspects of each trilogy, that's how we approach things at Ewok Talk. We're just
Yeah.
these things, Star Wars fans, here's our opinion.
Attack of the Clones is bae.
Yeah, I'll say the active watching part of my brain is definitely strained after, what was it, like 6 hours of movies and then...
Yeah, you got to have your eyes glued to
And
the
then
screen.
10 hours of behind the scenes.
There's so much, yeah. And
Yeah, there's just so much out there. So I hope you guys appreciate that. Not appreciate, but
we did this for you.
but yeah, but just like we did our work here.
Yeah. We want to know that this, and we're coming at this with like a lot of, we're not trying to be extremely hateful at all in this episode,
But you may hear some things you don't want to hear.
Oh, there's going to be shade all over the place and whatnot, but we're coming from a place of love,
Yeah.
So let's just get this out of the way. right off the top of the podcast, before we really get into any of the problems or anything, let's just give the films credit and that, they really did commit to bringing a lot of these practical effects back and creating these creatures and sets that like honor the legacy of Star Wars. And, the production is A-level, top-notch, 100%, 99% of the visual effects and whatnot look amazing, flawless. Cinematography is great. The editing is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of energy.
You can tell a lot of money was spent.
They spent tons of money on this. I don't think anyone hates these movies because they were like poorly created from a production standpoint.
Right.
And one thing I'll add, though, is that amazing acting, great editing, beautiful cinematography, great sets. These are all points on paper. But when you're watching the movie, they really continue throughout. And that really lifts up the experience of the whole thing. It's only afterwards that you sit and you're like, something was off.
Yeah. I mean, all three of these movies are perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
It's not like for me at least, they don't really drag on or usually don't do anything like heinously upsetting.
Yeah.
Except
usually.
one thing. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Usually. I gotta really commend these actors because they all, especially look like the behind the scenes, they all really love Star Wars. And they're all really happy to be a part of it. They gave it their best. You can't really justify saying there's a bad performance anywhere in this trilogy.
Yes.
Diana's looking a little
I'm
unconvinced.
trying to balance it within what is bad writing and what is bad performance, but I'm sure we'll talk about that soon.
And I think by now, everyone and their mom knows that this trilogy suffered from a clear lack of direction going into it, which is why a lot of it kind of just feels like it doesn't really match up between movies or connect, or people have, problems with the internal logic of a lot of what goes on. And that's because we all know they didn't write all of these films together. They took it one by one.
Right.
But to dissect this corpse, oh God, we have to travel back to 2015 when The Force Awakens was released. Star Wars is back.
The Falcon! The Millennium Falcon! It's the Millennium Falcon! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh God! I gotta play with my Star Wars toys!
Yeah. Okay. So The Force Awakens. So this is 2015. This is back when no one really thought there was going to be Star Wars sequels. Especially George Lucas. Well, I guess this was kind of when he changed his mind, because I think this is kind of when he was going to move on, make sequels, but then decided he didn't want it to take up the rest of his life. So then he kind of like decided to give away Star Wars.
He's like, it's been long enough.
Right. Watching some of those interviews and or reading about it, it's he talks about it like it's a breakup. He's like, you gotta just kind of let go of it and try not to go back to it. It's
sending his baby off to college.
Yeah, it became such a huge part of his life. It's insane how much like his entire like being was consumed by this franchise.
Right.
And there's the interview on Charlie Rose where he talks about, he knew with the foresight that this would be a 10-year plus journey. And he's, at the time of the interview, was 70 years old. We have to appreciate when people do let go, because so often in Hollywood, it's just like,
it's
I'm
hard.
fisted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. And it's his baby, It's crazy. But yeah, I think it's really obvious to see that, when they were conceiving this film and putting it together, like, a lot of Star Wars fans, especially like the older fans who were more so fans of the original trilogies and weren't so much fans of the prequels, they were hoping that these new movies would kind of be nothing like the prequels in any way, shape, or form, And I think that really did heavily influence a lot of the choices they made. And I think JJ was definitely aware of like what fans wanted to see in a new Star Wars movie.
Do you think JJ likes the prequel trilogy?
No. I don't think so.
It was not evident.
Yeah, well, Rian Johnson had something. He had this tweet where someone's like, say something good about the prequels. And I'm not quoting it directly, but paraphrasing, he's like, George Lucas put together a very compelling narrative. in a set of movies that expanded the universe and also pushed the technology to the furthest it had been at this point.
Yeah, no, Ryan Johnson is a fan of the prequel trilogy. You can tell.
Right, yeah.
He brought Jar Jar back. You guys missed that as directors? Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Director's cut.
Director's cut, wow.
I think a lot of credit actually goes to the Red Letter Media guys. I know that I didn't start thinking about, movies and specifically Star Wars very seriously until their retrospective came out, basically, where they're like, why the prequels sucked. And I miss the days when I was just an innocent Star Wars fan. I liked laser swords and I liked cool space battles. And then someone came up to me and they're like, you like the prequels? What are you, stupid?
Yeah, no, I also have that experience. I posted a Facebook status where I was just like, does anybody want to see episode 1 with me in 3D? And someone was like, why do you want to see episode 1? And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I was growing up, I don't think people specifically my age were making fun of me for liking the prequels, but I definitely think for some reason, whatever school I went to, just the kids there just did not like Star Wars somehow. It was a smaller class, so there was like only about 20-ish kids in my class, and coincidentally, none of them enjoyed Star Wars. So it was great for me. So I kind of like, I had no gauge on like what people liked or disliked about Star Wars, because just everyone I knew just was not interested.
That's beautiful. That's like the Garden of Eden right there. A state of unadulterated innocence.
Yeah, I was untouched.
But definitely a lot of the aspects that they cover in the films, specifically what comes to mind is lightsaber combat. They were very critical about the lightsaber combat in the prequels. They said it was too choreographed. They were very critical about the lack of practical effects. They were very critical about, it's funny, specifically they were critical about the political plots.
Right,
and how, like, this was a children's movie and so on. And you see all of that be addressed in the Force Awakens.
Yeah, totally. And I think JJ said in interviews, he mentions that political stuff a lot. And it's like, I understand that The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, and even Revenge of the Sith a little bit, do have like a bunch of scenes where you're in the Senate. But I don't think just because they included a little too much of that doesn't mean you should not include it at all in your films. You know what I mean? He just goes really hard with being like, no one cares about the actual politics of Star Wars. And I don't think that's true.
Is it that generally considered that the prequel trilogies are kids' movies?
That's what the argument was in Red Letter Media or their associated, Mr. Plinkett. They're like, this is a movie about kids. And you got blah, 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 political dialogue.
Well, George Lucas himself usually defends the films by saying they're for children.
Oh.
And actually, the children thing comes up in the defense of the sequel trilogy a lot.
Yeah.
And it really jumps between, I think that's a big problem salty people have. Is that what we call them? Sequel haters?
Yeah. Saltier than crate.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to the sub. Listen, they got points. But basically, no one wants to hear this is a movie for kids. And then you're too dumb to understand this. Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
Right.
There's no right answer, in my opinion, for that kind of stuff. Because it is both a movie for children and a movie to try to appease older fans. Well, this whole trilogy, at least. What's interesting about it is, like we said, they wanted to stay away from too much CGI and whatnot, and they did so much practical stuff. And what's interesting is they like really tried to evoke a lot of the imagery of the original trilogy. They really went super hard with that. They had a lot of, as in these behind the scenes documentaries, they have a lot of like talk about how they have these legacy people who worked on the original films and worked on the prequels as visual effects artists, concept artists, all these creative minds.
Right.
And it's kind of disappointing that what they decided, the direction they decided to take it in, was so redundant from the original trilogy.
Completely support that. And I think that's what we were saying earlier, is that it's clear that the people who made these sequel trilogies really do love Star Wars and stuff. So you can only... blame seems harsh, but you can see that the direction was very soft touch. It didn't create anything new, and having obviously there needs to be a balance between that
But when I was watching the behind the scenes, one thing people should know is that the number of people who said, well, my father worked on Star Wars, and it's like medieval Hollywood production firm. My grandfather did Lights and Magic, and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's insane. I had no clue that this was the case.
Yeah. It's crazy how much of a family the crew
Like,
is.
it's its own thing. It's its own community.
I don't think we really got into it too much, but we should just give our first impressions of what we thought of the movie, The Force Awakens, when it first came out. I mean, I think the main takeaway that a lot of people had was, oh, it's kind of just like a soft reboot of A New Hope. You know, that was, I think, the biggest complaint by most general audiences. And not like, that wasn't like a really harsh thing, but people noticed it, you know?
Right.
So what were your guys' first impressions, and how do you feel about that A New Hope reboot take? I
was entertained by the movie the first time I saw it, but I don't think I was particularly moved by anything. What I remember the most is watching it for the first time and having that one Poe line happen. And as soon as that happened, I looked over to my friend, Andrew. Hey, Andrew. And I was like, is this going to be the movie? Is this how the movie's going to be? And then it improved. And there are parts that made me laugh. But I also think when it came to the part where Han Solo dies, I wasn't moved by that at all, to be completely honest. Yeah, no, it didn't affect me in any way. Acknowledging that just has always left a bitter taste in my mouth for The Force Awakens, just because, you know, and I'm not saying that it wasn't an entertaining movie. Again, there are things that I didn't enjoy, but I think it just missed the mark for me, to be completely honest.
Well, actually, before I start with my impression of The Force Awakens, I just want to make it absolutely clear. I have two rules I'm not going to break for this episode. I'm not going to talk about physics, even though it really, really hurts.
It's impossible to talk about physics in Star Wars.
It is. It's like shooting a water gun at the sun. It's just useless. But on top of that, no horny posting. I'm not going to... I will make comments about romantic connections that could have happened, but that's it. That's where we're leaving it, okay? We're leaving it at the door.
Well, I'm not going to promise I won't make any horny comments. Okay.
Well, as long as it's
there
somebody
goes
else.
my fucking rundown.
All right.
But The Force Awakens, I mean, I remember 2015. I was so excited. It really, you know, it was a monumental moment for me when the score first comes on, and etc. And at the time, I did like the who talks first. You talk first, I talk first.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm a sucker, you know, whatever. You can shoot me. But, you know, upon, you know, later, you know, understanding more about films, yeah, I see how that kind of capped off a very tense scene in a terrible way.
Right.
But in any case, I really like the characters' introductions. I thought they were very, you know, strongly characterized. They had, like, you know, attributes to them that drew me to them. And the emotional beats got me to a T, including when Han dies. I was just like, oh, I was gripping my chest. I was like, it can't be. So, 9 out of 9.
Well, my issue with the Han thing is that you know he's gonna die.
Why?
As soon as they step onto that long platform thing where all the spaces that you know he's gonna die.
He could have walked away.
Right. But you didn't know he was going to die before that.
Oh yeah, no. But just leading up to that, I was like, oh, okay. I think because I saw it coming, where I was like, that's probably why it didn't affect me so much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say, you know, if I'm going to be honest, I was not really impressed with The Force Awakens when it first came out. And I'm not trying to say that to be like an asshole. I respect other people's opinions about it. It does a lot of things to like make you feel like you like Star Wars again, and I appreciate that, you know, and I'm not going to take that away from people, but it just did not work for me personally. Like I remember in the theater, I don't really know if I was that excited to go to the movie theater for it in the first place, but I do remember feeling, this is like, it just feels like they're trying too hard to, I don't know if the word is modernize Star Wars in terms of like comedy, you know what I mean? Like Marvel-y comedy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It just felt off to me. And since you guys brought that up, the Poe Dameron, like who talks first thing, surprisingly, I think that's a line a lot of people will like really remember either feeling one way or the other about from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I agree that I don't, in concept, hate, it's not like a not funny joke or anything, but it does kind of, it really put a bad taste in my mouth for the introduction of Poe Dameron, just because it's like you just saw him kill a very old good friend who believes in the Jedi and the Resistance and whatnot,
Right.
without flinching. And he just stopped your blast in midair, force froze it. And now he might murder you right here. And you're going to make a joke?
Yeah, and this is a completely new character
Right.
that you have no real gauge of, and the first thing is like, oh, dumb joke.
Yeah.
Right. And I think all that humor that they use to break the tension in The Force Awakens, and actually it does bleed into the other films, it just makes me not afraid of the villains at all. Like, it really just destroys any sense of like, oh boy, here comes Kylo Ren. Like, I got to take him a little seriously. And I know that's kind of the point of The Force Awakens, is that he's just more of a little brat. But any of the elements of coolness or like imposingness that he had, I don't know if that's a word, but were kind of just chopped at the knees by Poe Dameron being like, oh, who talks first?
Yep.
That's what I'll say on that.
But I'll say that the jokes really do take off later in the series rather than just in TFA. I think in TFA we're fortunate to have them at least let a few important moments hang, whereas, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point to bring up later.
Well, I wasn't attached to Rey at all in The Force Awakens. I thought she was fine, but nothing about her particularly stood out to me. I was excited about the potential for Finn, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate what happens. But yeah, I was really excited for the potential of Finn. I didn't care about Poe. Kylo Ren, I thought, was an interesting character. And I knew that I wanted to see more of him. And I was curious to see like where he would end up. And I love BB-8. I think he's great. I think he's great. I think he's really fun.
So favorite character?
In The Force Awakens, probably BB-8. Yeah. I'll go with that.
I mean, how do you feel about BB-8? I love BB-8 in this movie.
I think everyone goes around, everyone thinks BB-8 is cute, but he can't do no wrong.
Right. Is he kind of just a new R2? Yeah, but I like him. He's great.
Yeah.
I like his design. That was really weird and interesting at the time.
Like, you can't hate him.
His interactions are just pretty wholesome, between the characters. They don't really feel forced, and it's hard to hate a character who just beeps as speaking. You know what I mean? So, what did you think of Rey, Mo?
Well, actually, so I think in TFA the first 5 minutes with each character, except Poe because of his joke, but the first 5 minutes really nails what I'm supposed to feel, and I was impressed on rewatch on how they succeeded at that. Like Finn's internal conflict, Rey's heartbreaking loneliness, Kylo Ren's aggression and raw power, really characterized well in the way they were filmed. I actually wish we spent a little more time with Desert Rey, because it's before any dialogue even happens, right? It's her sitting alone eating a sandwich with the helmet, and it's beautiful, and it makes you feel something. And this is the first Star Wars character we've seen in real deprivation. I mean, Anakin was literally a slave, and he had a better home life than Rey. He had a mom. And he had friends, and he had kids his age. And Rey has literally nobody.
Yeah, Rey is the loneliest character in Star Wars. I feel like that's fair to say, yeah.
And so, again, first beats for me, great stuff. And I really liked all the characters. My favorite character at the end of the first movie has to be, I'm a little boy inside, so it has to be Kylo Ren. But I loved Rey, and I loved Finn. And I was so excited for the trilogy at the time.
Cool. So more specifically, though, do you like Rey's journey throughout the film and her, her character and whatnot?
Yeah, I thought that it started off strong. On rewatch, I had some issues with how she does not act like someone who's never had a friend before, because I've met those people.
No,
Right.
I think that's my main issue with Rey, to be completely honest, is that I don't see her as a real character. And I know that you're talking about this, and I guess, sure, more Desert Rey would probably be appreciated, just so I could understand her origin more or less, but I don't feel that way about her at all. And then for her to become this this OP, as she's often accused of being, it takes you further away from who she is. I understand your sentiments, but I don't feel the same way.
Another big takeaway from this film initially was everyone thinking Rey was a Mary Sue, which was initially kind of brought to everyone's attention by Max Landis. That guy's a fucking loser, but he was right, in a lot of ways. And I think people really latched onto that. And that's kind of where I think Rey hate started, for sure. I don't really care that she's that overpowered with the Force, especially in this film, just because I don't really need to see someone take baby steps learning the Force again. We already did that. So that doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
And I think I actually do like her character in this movie. Like Daisy Ridley's very charming, you know?
She is.
She's very charming. I like her interactions with people. And I really do especially like her relationship with Han Solo that forms very quickly. And her and BB-8 also have some really sweet moments together when they first meet and whatnot. I mean, BB-8, as we said, amazing character. The best. I liked Rey. I was interested in seeing what was going to happen with her. I didn't really care about who her parents were. I didn't think that was going to be important, really. Not nearly as much as other people were speculating after the film. But I thought it was going to be cool. I thought she was going to become someone really cool eventually in this trilogy. I thought she had potential.
Side note, it's interesting to know after watching Solo that Rey and Han actually have the closest backstories and that they would get along. You know, even though in the movie I thought, oh, you guys are just friends now. But no, I get it. It makes sense. If you want it to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I have so much to say about Finn and Poe. That is not going to be pleasant.
Ooh, here we go.
Let me go through Kylo first because I have less to say about Kylo. I didn't really initially like him that much because he just seemed like a Darth Vader wannabe. But on rewatch, I really appreciate his character a lot more after seeing the other two films in the trilogy. Seeing that this character is more like a sad, confused little boy who's trying to be edgy. It works a lot more than it did initially for me on rewatch. Yeah, and I like his character. He is compelling and interesting. First, I still don't understand why he was so drawn to the dark side. I still think that's a little underdeveloped throughout the whole trilogy. But as a character, I think Adam Driver does a great job at portraying all of Kylo's feelings and whatnot. It's a really good performance in all the movies.
Yeah, definitely a standout performance.
Love Adam Driver.
But like, yeah, what the hell was Darth Vader's helmet whispering to this guy this whole time to make him think that like his parents were the worst?
Come shit on Grandpappy's lap and you'll get to Werther's Originals.
Any parents listening who have a father who interacts with their child, watch out. You don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, dude, keep him away. But yeah, here's my take on Finn. It's just that I find him so obnoxious in the first half of this film. He's so fucking annoying. Right after he frees Poe and they escape together, he just acts like a fucking idiot for so much of this movie. And the writer Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote this with JJ, they were so proud that they wrote a character who he's a stormtrooper and he's actually he actually gets away and, you know, he becomes a hero, and that's really compelling.
It's like they didn't do anything with it.
It's just like, it is really compelling.
Yeah. That's
so
a great
why
point.
So why does he revert to being this bumbling idiot who doesn't seem like he just left this huge, you know, first order Nazi organization,
where everyone else is like a hard ass.
Yeah,
except for Finn.
Like, these people are shown that the First Order people, you know, like, all of them are pretty serious people. They don't really have much of a personality, you know, or sense of humor. And this guy is it just feels like a character in a random modern day movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just does not fit in.
They jump straight into characters you're supposed to like rather than the characters they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way of putting it.
That was me, Mo.
He's
it was
so
Mo.
proud. You should see his smile right now.
Mo, give me credit. Please.
Yeah, but it's absolutely true in that, like, when I was talking about the potential of Finn, it's like, it is an exciting idea that the Stormtrooper wants to become a hero, because when you think of the Stormtrooper, you're just like, oh, it's one of them. Like, one of those disposable whatever dudes. But they don't use any of that, like, not that they have to use his trauma, or there's probably a better way of saying it, but they don't use any of that background to define his character.
To inform his character.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, and even we see this guy was taken when he was a child. And they're not talking about, like, 15. They're talking about, like, he looked about, what, 3?
3? I saw it in the picture with when Hux and Phasma are talking about it. It's a baby photo of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Phasma's like, this was his first offense? How? Like, how did he get this far into it?
They liked the comedic relief up until the treachery. Then it became a problem. But before that, it was like, whoa, ho, ho.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
we need
so
some
weird.
diversity.
And he just does so many dumb things. But I will say, once they go to Maz Kanata's castle, I actually like Finn from then on in the movie.
Right.
To me, he becomes 1,000% more likable after that. The jokes get toned down a lot more. He gets more serious because he's more concerned about Rey and whatnot. And he feels like an actual person, like in this universe at that point for me.
Well, now that you mention it, if I can point out 2 lines that almost seem like Rey, as soon as they arrive at Maz Kanata's castle, says, "I've never seen so much green before," which I thought was a beautiful line. And again, great, strong characterization. And Poe says, "You looked at me like no one ever has." Again, strong, powerful, and then again gets dropped, kinda. You know,
yeah.
It's just words. It's not depicted.
I agree. And I mean, like we were talking about earlier before the podcast, is that there's definitely a romantic interest set up here. Finn is definitely romantically into Rey. Clearly has like a little boy crush on her
They
immediately.
did that boy so dirty.
Say it, Nick. Say what I can't say.
The horny parts.
I don't know.
Yeah,
sorry,
we don't think the way to say what you
Finish the job. Finish what I started.
But yeah, like, I mean, even if the story was supposed to go down the route of like, okay, Rey's supposed to friend zone this guy, they don't even give us that.
Yeah.
Listen, I understand that in a movie, every man and every woman doesn't have to be romantically connected. They can be friends. Friends don't give each other long, amorous looks with juicy, poignant lines like, "We'll meet again," and so on.
Yeah, no, they definitely they go out of their way to establish that there's like a connection here.
Right.
And just to take you nowhere, which is like, okay,
Right.
fine.
A place I've been taken before when it comes to romance.
Right. I'm very familiar. And then the other character, the trio is Poe. And, well, firstly, if anyone doesn't know, he wasn't supposed to actually survive the TIE fighter crash.
Big mistake.
I think they should just let him die, because then they would have had more room to develop Finn and Rey.
Yeah.
But whatever. They just really liked Oscar Isaac, and it makes sense. He's a charming guy.
Yeah, I don't blame them for that, but it's just, what's more important?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Story or Oscar Isaac being in the movie. I don't know. Regardless, Poe is he's just too annoyingly overconfident for me to like him, you know? It's just like they were trying so hard to be like, look how cool he is, look how cool he is, look how funny he is, look how great he is. Yeah, that makes me instantly not like this guy. I know a lot of people after The Force Awakens that actually really love Poe.
Right.
They were like, wow, pow. Probably Mo was one of those guys.
Yeah, I was one of those guys. Yeah, I was a Poe head.
Poe.
A Poe-tard, if you will.
Can you say that?
I don't know.
Is it offensive?
It's not a word. So
Okay.
anyway, liking Poe is like the equivalent of if you're playing like a Call of Duty match online with some kids.
God, why are you coming at me so hard?
Here we go. No. I'm not saying you specifically.
Oh, thank
I'm
God.
saying people who really love Poe. It's just like, that's like being in a Call of Duty match with like, online with like some 14-year-old kids who are like, have aimbot on and are fucking you up and then telling you that you like they just slept with your mom. Like, that's what Poe is.
Why are you coming at me so hard?
That's what Poe does. He makes jokes about the evil people's moms, and he just like, I hate him.
I'm just here to be cool.
I really don't like him in The Force Awakens.
He's an American boy, Nick.
How does no one ever mention how insane his starfighter piloting skills are?
Ooh, get him.
Like Rey, Mary Sue, sure,
Get ready
whatever.
for this. Get ready for
here
this,
it is.
fellas.
But guys, like, please, anyone who doesn't believe me, go rewatch this scene. Watch it through with this in mind, keeping track of everything Poe does, just in this 1 minute of screen time. All right. This guy literally snipes 4 stormtroopers on the ground from an X-Wing with no, like, misses. Perfect shots every time. And then
He's got aimbot.
Yeah, exactly. And then he blows up 6 TIE fighters in a row, blasts 3 stormtroopers off of the ground again, and then blows up 4 more TIE fighters, all in the span of less than 1 minute of screen time. Is that not insane?
While I'm at it, 4 more.
Yeah. And then, of course, then the camera cuts to Finn, and Finn's like, that's one hell of a pilot. And it's like, thanks, Finn.
Yeah.
And it goes back to Poe. And he's like, woo!
Yeah. Woo! We get it.
It's
He's
a
the
party.
best pilot that ever lived, ever. Great.
Yeah.
He's so good. Gold star.
I think what makes me so frustrated with that is like, it's not just that I don't hate him just because he's good at being a pilot. I hate that because how am I supposed to feel like there's any stakes if this guy can do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can I feel like the resistance
He's
is
just
at a
some guy.
loss when this dude, a non-force sensitive human, is somehow the best pilot that ever lived? He doesn't need any help taking out like legions of stormtroopers.
Well, on that note, in film history, I think that Top Gun ruined X-wings for the rest of Star Wars. After Top Gun, you couldn't have like, oh my god, I'm so scared in this spaceship. It had to be like, wow! It had to be. It had to be.
I'm surprised they didn't put Tyrese Gibson in the sequel trilogy because he is known for the. I don't know if you guys know, but in the Fast and Furious like films, he's in every single one of them, and the only thing he ever does in the movie is like go woo, like they use him in all the trailers, and it's just like you get that paycheck, Tyrese.
Oh.
That's almost what they made Finn boil down to.
Yeah. Woo!
He's a hype man.
Hype man.
Yeah.
Finn is definitely a hype man in this movie, but it's like we don't need that at all.
He's a hype man in like
Star
a lot
Wars.
of the movies, I feel. He really hates that shit.
Yeah, no,
Something like that. It's like, why are you
agree.
using him like this?
Droid, please. The riskiest. Can we keep that in? The riskiest
Sure.
joke in the history of Star Wars. Droid.
Did you
please.
laugh the first time you heard it?
I was shocked into laugh.
I thought it was funny, but
I
I
also
didn't.
laughed,
I didn't
yes.
think. I didn't think about it as a risky joke when I first
I just
heard it.
didn't think of it as a Star Wars appropriate joke.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it comes
Absolutely,
down
yeah.
to.
So now that we talked about all of the new characters, except Maz Kanata, butthole eyes. Got him.
Jesus
Got him.
Christ.
Sniped Mo right in the head.
Whoa. He got aimbot on.
Dude, I got you good.
Yeah.
Why? What did that?
It really
Why,
got
how
him.
did that hit you
That
so
really
hard?
resonates. That really
because you know
resonates
what?
with Mo.
If I never saw Maz Kanata and he described it to me, it would be what I imagined.
I like Maz Kanata actually, though. In this movie, at least. This particular one, Force Awakens, I like her.
I like her castle.
Oh, I love that first shot into the castle. And,
Yeah.
this was a good take of, like, they're not just repeating imagery. It's not just the cantina. It's a new, whatever. It's a new addition to the lore. I love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Maz is, like, weirdly optimistic for someone who runs what could be called a hive of scum and
Yeah. I think, I don't know.
a den of scum and villainy.
I just see Maz as like a confident, like older person who has a lot of wisdom, and experience under her belt.
For sure.
Being CGI was definitely the way to go with her character because she has a good motion captured performance in this one.
You can't create butthole eyes with just paper mache and glue.
The folks at ILM can only do so much.
They'll prove you wrong later on down the line. Let me tell you that.
They're going to make you butthole eyes.
Oh no, not my butthole eyes.
You're always after me butthole eyes.
Oh God.
Sorry.
Now that we kind of very in-depth covered all of those new characters, Mo has lost his rundown. He's like, keep going.
We're doing it live.
He's like scrambling to figure out what's going on.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Okay, yeah. Now that we talked about all the new characters that the trilogy introduces, well, how do we all feel about the incorporation of the legacy characters? Who wants to speak first? Who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
Wow, you ruined the tension in that scene. I forgot how much Han adds, to Star Wars. I haven't seen The Force Awakens probably in a couple of years until this rewatch, and he really adds a lot of the charisma and fun and so on that they're trying to give to every single character now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how they didn't see that.
Well, yeah. I think what I like about Han so much is that, I mean, in every movie, but especially in this movie, it's nice. He's not cynical, I guess. He's got a dry sense of humor, I suppose.
Yeah.
How do you put it?
No. I think that's
He's
that's
not
fair.
really impressed with most things. You know what I mean? He's not like starry-eyed, like, whoa, look at all this shit, like the other three characters are throughout most of the movie.
He's got some choice lines in there.
Yeah, he's great.
No, I like Han Solo.
I think we can all agree Han is probably one of the best characters in this movie for sure.
All right, big deal.
All right, big deal. You got a bigger problem. Women always find out.
I loved it.
Always.
I like Han.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is cool.
I thought you were going to say I'm sorry. Okay.
No. I like Han. He is cool. I agree.
How did we feel about Leia in this movie? I feel like there was more to be desired, honestly. She wasn't bad. Like, there was nothing about her that I was like, oh, I didn't like that. But there was nothing about her that I was like, oh, I really like
Nothing
that.
really stood out. It's just when you think about the characters as a whole, like throughout the trilogy, it's hard to decide whether or not, because I guess I don't know how much I wanted these legacy characters to be involved because it's supposed to be like this thing where it's like a handoff, but in order to have this handoff, you have to like still delve into these characters, which makes them into like new characters in a certain way, and it's just a very thin line that you have to tightrope on,
100%.
Yeah, as for the legacy characters within this first movie, it's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, and Luke isn't really in the movie.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
in the movie.
But Leia definitely goes from here to the next one. Like, what's her first line in episode 4? Aren't you a little short first? That's not it. But whatever, fine.
Yeah.
She goes from that to like, oh, I'm your grandma. I was
Right.
like, okay, grandma's here.
Hey, grandma.
and then she really comes into her own. And I think the next one.
Yeah, I think what I will say about the characters story-wise is I'm not really in love with the decisions they made in general for the legacy characters, even in this movie. I love Han, but I don't really like that he went back to like being a smuggler
Right.
and kind of just reverting to his old ways. Same with Leia, I don't really like that she's kind of just doing the same old shit that she was doing like 30 years ago. I really wish they were a different headspace.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come up with a brand new trilogy for you right off the top of my head, right? I mean, you guys ready for this?
All right.
Straight up, okay.
I will humor you.
It's episode 7. It's the High Republic again. We got a new Republic, and things are going, on. And look, the structure of the galaxy and the technology means you can't really have that without massive, gaps in coverage in terms of a government. So crime lords start taking over, and Leia is having trouble managing all this as a supreme leader or whatever. And Han can see it on the ground, and she's telling Leia.
Well, so-
and they're disagreeing with each other. Sorry.
No, that's all good. So essentially what you're saying is we would have actually been more in the time period of the Mandalorian show.
Bingo.
I think that would have been more interesting to see what the fall of an empire looks like rather than kind of just continuing the same shit.
Yeah.
That's why the Mandalorian is very good.
That's why that setting is so intriguing.
Dave Filoni keeping that idea to himself, like,
Yeah, you guys do whatever you want with the
love
new
it.
movie.
Yeah, that's
I love
cool.
it. Yeah, great, awesome, Ray.
Signing
Keep
my
that
own
for
checks.
later. I was watching some review or something, and someone said it put it well in that for some reason they decided to just skip over all of the most intriguing parts of this story,
Yeah.
like seeing the rise and fall of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, why Kylo turns to the dark side, what happens after an empire falls, like we just said. They skip over all that stuff in favor of kind of just setting the galaxy back to zero or whatever.
Well, that's what the prequel sequel will be.
Right.
oh,
yeah.
thank God.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
After the 10 through 12
Oh,
will
God.
be a prequel of this.
Well,
That does make sense, though.
It will.
at least Adam Driver will be young enough to carry it. So.
Yeah, jeez. Thank God for Adam Driver. What were your thoughts on Starkiller Base then? Just because I think that's the last thing to really talk about in this film.
If I could erase it from my memory, I would. It's just, who cares?
I honestly couldn't agree more in
Yeah.
that who cares? It's a cool concept, a singular concept. If out of context from every other thing that's happened in Star Wars, it is interesting in terms of like it's the planet Ilum, Kyber,
Yeah.
whatever, turn that planet into a base. That is technically a new idea, and it's interesting that it can fire on multiple targets at the same time and blow up a whole solar system. That's also an interesting idea. What they do with it is the least interesting thing I've seen. It's like, what? Oh my God.
The thermal oscillator.
It's just like, holy shit. When they're talking about like, oh, so it's another Death Star, and Poe's like, I wish that were so. It's like, no, it is.
It's so, bro.
It's so.
I promised I wouldn't talk about physics. I'm not talking about physics. I'm not. But just in terms of geography, I mean, the cannon itself would be the size of Mexico.
Wow.
Like, if you're, and they give you shots of the cannon, and you see like a mountain next to it, no, you're already getting this wrong. Like, the map you showed is like literally several mountain ranges long of the cannon itself.
Point. Damn. I think it would have been actually more compelling if they kept that base around into the sequel movie. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been, oh no, they didn't blow it up in the first one. That's different.
Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine that.
I'll say something nice. It lent itself to some beautiful shots and some like really incredible like scale in terms of the threat.
Sure.
And then they blow it up. So
Sure. But don't you think it's interesting that when we did our Rogue One discussion, that the Death Star in Rogue One feels way more intimidating
Yeah.
than Starkiller Base does in this? When they show the two size comparisons where it's like the Death Star is a golf ball and the Starkiller is a basketball, are they talking about the first Death Star? Because the second Death Star is already like 2 or 3 times bigger than the first Death Star.
They didn't label it.
So I think they purposely left the second Death Star out of this whole like thing just to make the Starkiller Base look more imposing than it actually is.
But even if we had the second Death Star, it would be like a baseball compared to a basketball.
Right, but I'm saying the scale wouldn't have been so drastically bigger. So I think that's what they did there.
Should have made it a cube.
But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter how big the thing is. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One thing I'd like to add is that militarily, the whole thing stops making sense to me. Like, I understand you needed Starkiller Base to take out the Old Republic and their fleet. After that, though, it's not good for dealing with rebellions if you just blow up every planet in the galaxy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Never learning from their mistakes, these guys.
And that problem does not go away at the end of this movie.
Oh, it does.
And we do not just skip past that. It just keeps going. I guess for a little bit of positive before we stop talking about Force Awakens, we could just quickly mention what our favorite scenes were. I have a favorite. The only scene that we didn't talk about that I really liked was the Rathtar thing. I like how stupid it is and how like just kind of inconsequential to the whole film, but like it's kind of that's the Star Wars action like adventure thing that I would like to see more, you know, in the movie. So during that stuff, I was kind of like, oh, cool, this is different. Like these stupid squid things look terrible, but at least they're new. I was at least having fun that it wasn't just stormtrooper.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I like all of Kylo Ren's baby moments where he's being a little
Or he's throwing a tantrum.
yeah, I just think they're funny.
Yeah, I mean, most impactful scene was Han's death. Favorite scene is going back to Jakku. Why? You got a family, you got a cute boyfriend? That's my favorite. Kill me if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, I think I'll kill you.
I'll die on this one. I'll die on this hill. Got a cute boyfriend?
So I have a couple quotes here that I think are pretty pertinent to the whole trilogy. I don't want to bring George Lucas too much into the discussion just because like he wasn't involved in making these and his approval or disapproval doesn't really justify whether or not their films are good or bad. You know, let's remember he made the prequels and people hate a lot of things about the prequels.
Right.
This man loves the prequels because he made them the way he wanted to. But I just want to say that, you know, in the interview that they had with George after The Force Awakens, he does say,
they looked at the stories and they said, we want to make something for the fans. They wanted to do a retro movie. I don't like that. Every movie I worked very hard to make them different and make them completely different with, you know, different planets, with different spaceships, with different, you know, to make it new.
So
and
are you at peace with this?
Yeah.
however you feel about George Lucas, I think he was right in criticizing the lack of new elements in The Force Awakens. People still, maybe now they do more, but I still don't think they really understand how much The Force Awakens hindered the whole like trilogy.
Yeah. Just the idea of writing a movie after not starting from scratch from every movie, because obviously you have the previous movie to work off of, but I really don't like that they wrote one movie, made it, rather than finish the fucking story, because you
Yep.
know it's going to be 3 parts.
You know it's going to be 3.
They
Right.
have to work together,
Right.
and it's just so obvious that they don't.
It's interesting to think about how just completely different this whole trilogy would have been if they would have written all 3 scripts and created all the movies concurrently, like they did with like the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting thought, you know.
But could so you guys know more about making movies than I do, but could it be that they felt like writing all 3 scripts increases the chances that a small change in one place necessitates massive changes later on or something like that? I'm trying to justify it. Like, these people know what they're doing. So how did this happen?
What do you mean by small change in one place, though?
I figure, like, you know, if you're taking them a chunk at a time, it allows, like, you give more time to each one than having one entire, you know, trilogy set of scripts. I felt like that's the only explanation I could come up with for why they didn't make the 3 scripts in the beginning.
Well, I think if they made the 3 scripts in the beginning, they would have had more to develop in the first movie instead of just being like mystery, mystery, mystery. They could have actually had more specific teases, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As is, The Force Awakens clearly has lots of questions in it. It asks, and it clearly has no answers for any of these questions.
Yeah, like you don't want to make... Exactly, that's perfectly said. I don't need to elaborate on that.
Well, so again, I just want to say that, you know, maybe they felt like they had to be more adaptive, or maybe they were foreseeing any issue in the way of production or changing attitudes, like
Maybe.
necessitates big changes. But then you bring up the Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, well, they did it, so. But they had books to go off of also.
They did.
So there's
They
that.
did. Yeah, they did.
There has to be something that explains it, and we'll talk about more as we go on with our autopsy here about why they made these decisions, why these incredible, brilliant, talented people who work very hard made these decisions.
Like, I can assume maybe it was time limit, but it's just like nobody expected a new Star Wars trilogy to
Right.
start in 2015.
You know what the interesting thing about that is, too? Is that for some reason they really wanted to push to get this out sooner than later because they had a different writer who was on this project before JJ and Lawrence Kasdan.
Mm-hmm.
But that guy is, like, I guess, known for taking a long time to really, like, get scripts done. He's got to really, like, think about it long and hard and do his research and
George
whatnot.
R.R. Martin.
I think they just decided he was not going to be able to, you know, write the script fast enough, so they kind of changed course. It was just a bad decision, obviously. I think they wanted to get this out, like, as soon as possible. I think that's the problem.
And in this case, the script did come first, right? Before, I don't want to, you know, maybe it's obvious, but it was before anyone was casted or auditioned or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Got it.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. Well, I mean, obviously, though, they made changes because, like, in regards to Poe, he wasn't even supposed to survive. I do want to leave it off on this last quote. I'm not going to, like, really elaborate on it, but I think it speaks really well for itself.
JJ, what was the bigger challenge, starting this trilogy or wrapping it up?
Not starting it. Wrapping it up for sure. Because it's 9 movies and the responsibility is much greater, and you know, starting something isn't necessarily easy, but it's far easier because you know the possibilities of what happens
Like a fire.
are everything. It's like a fire. That's exactly right.
But a former pyro, it's like, you know, lighting it is it's putting it out.
It's harder putting out a fire. That's probably true. That's actually a good analogy.
As we all know, The Last Jedi might be the most divisive piece of Star Wars media that exists. A lot of people hated it with a burning passion, and other people actually really enjoyed the film. What were your guys' honest impressions the first time you watched this movie?
I liked The Last Jedi. I thought it was very good. I remember going into work the next day. There were many people who were upset about it, and I was like, this is a good movie. There are many things in The Last Jedi where I'm just like, ugh. But nothing in that movie nothing that I hated in that movie really outweighs the things that I liked. I'll go into more once I get your opinions on the movies.
Yeah, I'll never forget when I walked out of The Last Jedi, and I was like walking very slowly with my group of pals, And none of us spoke, but I was the first to speak, as you can imagine. And I turned to them and I said, "That was good. I liked it." It was so conflicting. I didn't know how I felt for a long time. And then you're so vulnerable at that moment. And then these YouTubers swipe in. They're like, "You hated it. You hated it. Admit you hated it."
Yeah, you're
That's a good
stupid if
point.
you liked it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, absolutely.
How could Ryan do this
I
to
shouldn't have done
JJ?
this. Yeah, right.
I cannot believe this fucking guy, Ryan.
It's Rian Johnson.
Rian can't even spell his name right. How can he make a...
AT-AT. Oh, he big Star Wars fan.
Okay, so when the trailer came out for this movie, I was not excited about it at all because it looked like it was going to be a loose retelling of Empire Strikes Back. It's got the AT-ATs in the trailer. It's got Luke looking like he's teaching Rey like a Yoda character in the movie. It looks like Kylo's being mean again. I went into there and I was afraid it was going to be too much like The Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
So having that thought in my head and not being like excited about it, watching it, I was mostly just pleasantly entertained through it. Like I was mostly interested in what was going on because it was something I was not expecting at all.
Right.
And then, there are some choices that I wasn't expecting that were like, people say that he subverts your expectations just to do it. But I don't really think, maybe a couple times in the movie I felt like it wasn't really earned, but I think a lot of the choices he made were actually just interesting. And I kind of just follow along with what he's saying. People are going to hate me and they're going to hate Ewok Talk and we're never going to have fans ever again, guys. But I think...
Guys, I didn't like it.
Here.
I do think The Last Jedi might be my favorite of the three films.
I agree.
And I think it's not really because it's a great movie and it's amazing and I love it and it's the best thing ever. It's not. And I don't even think a lot of the humor worked for me that much in this movie either. So it's not like I think it's a funnier movie. I just think it's got so much more substance than the other two. Interactions between Kylo and Rey and Luke. Poe having to learn he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And Finn having to learn that, like, he actually wants to be, like, fighting against the First Order. And he wants to, do the right thing. And kind of being told by that stupid character, DJ, who I love, of, like, there's not really a good or bad side, bro. Like, who cares? I kind of just like a lot of what this film has to say, honestly.
I think it's important that you brought up how your expectations were low. You're right. My expectations were low when I was going to see this movie because I was like, okay, well, Force Awakens was okay, but I don't expect much. But watching this, The Last Jedi, just pleasantly surprised with a lot of the risks that were taken. And again, when it comes to Rian Johnson and people being like, oh, he just likes to subvert like your expectations and whatnot. I think a lot of it is meaningful. And I know a lot of people disagree with that and we'll get into it.
And I mean, Ryan introduced the concept of the Force Skype. And that's like, those are really some of the most interesting scenes in the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
Mo, you want to like say anything that you disagree with about that or whatever?
No, I don't think I disagree with anything you guys said in particular. It's important to remember, like, this is one of those movies where I feel closer to the fandom in that my emotions take over my reasoning sometimes because there's been just so much over the years of like this and that and this and so much angry yelling that it's hard to remember, what I'm watching a movie. How do I feel about it? Without being informed by what I've seen over the years. Definitely agree on those strong, good points. There are I've whittled it down to 2 or 3 things that hurt. And it hurt not like, but it sucked that happened. But definitely a strong movie and could have been stronger. And I don't hate Ryan anymore. I'm reformed. I don't hate Ryan.
Yeah, it could have been a stronger movie. They all could have been stronger movies, for sure. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to get into them?
Well, first, before you get into whatever these really big points are, can we all agree that no one cares about Snoke here in this room right now? The 3 of us don't care about Snoke. Is that right?
I don't care about Snoke. Yeah.
Never did.
It's hard to care when I know.
Yeah, well.
Why he look like that?
True. I mean, Andy Serkis, though. Amazing actor.
Yeah. Props to Andy Serkis.
And the visual effects on Snoke, he looks great. He looks like he's in the room with them.
Yeah.
He doesn't like stand out like, oh, that's CGI. I don't like. He's great.
Yeah,
he looks great.
Just as a character, though, just whatevs.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, he definitely comes off as spooky, but I mean, other than that, I don't know. When you introduce someone that looks like a knockoff Palpatine, there's no way you can really convince me he's not a knockoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll say that I liked Snoke's potential, and you can say that about any character, but he seemed to really radiate the kind of special villain potential to me initially.
Okay.
And then by the end of the movie, it's like, well, no, that ship has
Well,
sailed.
you lose some. You win some, you lose some. You know what I mean? Well, what are your 2 points, just so I know them, so I'm not going to...
Sure, and I'll kind of pull them together into one. Basically, it's about the 2 major points for me were the Luke-Rey relationship and the Holdo Po relationship. So let's get rid of the Holdo Po one first. I'm not going to get into the plan thing. I don't care. I don't care about who's right and who's wrong about that. But I will pinpoint what irked people, and I finally have been able to after this rewatch.
Okay, cool.
Holdo is new. Po we've met. Po we've met once, but he's not new, right? But the movie acts like Po is new and needs to learn his place, and that Holdo is not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I understand your perspective in that they're treating, like, as if Holdo is supposed to be, like, this revered character that we're familiar with, but I also think that it works in the way where, because you want to be on Poe's side, where you think that he's right and he's getting orders from this person who doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Exactly.
Sure.
But to show that she is right also makes a point of Poe where it's like, he's not perfect. Where it's just like, not only is Poe wrong, but you're wrong too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first brush, that kind of felt like a smack in the, like literally the smack in the whatever in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the audience is with Poe. It's supposed to be that way up until the very end when this is revealed. And I just felt like a lot of that hate was like sexist bullshit.
Yes.
Totally. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
And I felt like, not that it's the movie's responsibility to dodge sexist bullshit. It's impossible to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of that with this movie. But a little more work with Holdo, a little more working in of Holdo and Laura Dern and her acting abilities would have gone a long way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wish that we spent more time with Holdo and just understood her more.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whereas, like, the decision to make her seem like you're not really supposed to be on her side was a choice that negatively impacted that story beat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, just, you know, after seeing the movie once and rewatching it on a rewatch, it's more obvious to me to side with Holdo's character and what she's saying and like hearing her out because of, you know, because I've already seen the story. But the first watch through, yeah, I would agree that like it doesn't really work in favor of the movie so much. I do want to say though, fuck Poe.
I like that you're like, you're a fucking idiot. It's so stupid. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's kind of funny because she's kind of saying to his face all the things I thought of him. But
it was to the fans listening, it was a tough moment for Poe lovers.
Right, I agree. But you know, it's also like rewatching it. It's like you do just see Poe make one of the dumbest decisions to like sacrifice an entire fleet of bombers to try to take out one big ship that ultimately doesn't matter.
I can't help but point out, I don't understand why that was even his call. Like, where is the general? Where's the admiral? You don't just make these decisions on the fly. It was strange.
Yeah, I do agree that I don't know why it was.
Yeah,
he can override that decision.
Would it be fair?
Because Leia does tell them to come back.
Exactly, and you should listen to Leia.
Oh yeah, she's in charge.
Right.
Would it be fair to say that as much work that The Force Awakens does to make Poe look good, that The Last Jedi does work to make Poe look not bad, but you know what I'm saying? Bring him back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
I agree. I think, yeah, they maybe go a little overboard and like telling him how dumb he is.
I thought it was fair.
I think it's a fair amount because I thought he was so dumb. But yes, people who didn't really think he was that bad, I could see how that would feel like overboard, you know. But also, shouldn't Poe, like, you can't just stage a mutiny.
Well, he's also the guy he is the guy that took out Starkiller Base. at the end of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit of a jump between like you're not like a god to these people.
Yeah, that's a bit true. Was Luke Skywalker a god to these people
He was promoted
in
to
Return
general.
of the Jedi? Was he?
Wasn't
I guess.
he? Yeah.
I guess he was. But I feel like in Return of the Jedi, they were like, okay, General Solo's leading the ground assault, and Luke comes in and he's like, yeah, I'll join you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not like they were like, Skywalker has a very important mission.
Right.
He just goes and fucks off whatever he wants to do.
Right. That's fair. Poe, a complicated legacy.
I'll agree with you there. Let's move on to talking about the big thing then, the Luke stuff.
Let me start off by saying I thought the Kylo, Luke, Rey stuff in the movie was the best throughout. Like literally, that's what I came to this movie for.
Yeah, agreed.
In terms of new concepts introduced, in terms of development of characters and relationships, it was I think almost flawless. Right? There are things that start off, that bite. Not that they're bad. They just start off as a tough pill to swallow. Luke tossing that lightsaber. Not only did I wait so long since Return of the Jedi, I mean, I didn't, but whatever. But I waited 2 years since Force Awakens for that moment, that scene, and he tosses it away. That bites. Not bad. Not a bad decision, but it stings. And then Luke on Octu, I don't want to get into how he became that way, what happened, blah, blah, blah. But I want to say that it did feel a little more to me like Mark Hamill and a little less like Luke.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
With the lines.
I do agree that maybe it's just because he's like old now. And like Mark Hamill as like a famous personality is kind of so ingrained in my mind. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and there were like little pieces of that when he says like, no one's from nowhere. I'm from Jakku. Yeah, that's nowhere. and that's funny.
Yeah.
And it's a character I like, but it's not necessarily
It doesn't
Luke.
feel in universe enough, yeah.
And one other nitpick here when he says, what am I going to do? Take out a laser sword? I'm not going to complain about motivation. I'm complaining that he said laser sword.
Yeah, no, I don't like that he said laser sword.
I would agree. I don't like that he said that because he knows it's called a lightsaber. If it was Han Solo, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just odd that he referred to it as a laser sword.
It essentially was a little bit of Star Wars making fun of me for liking Star Wars. And
Right.
not the worst thing in the world, but it did annoy me.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. I do think, I guess, when he calls it a laser sword, maybe he is kind of making fun. He's using the wrong term purposely to make fun of Rey for thinking that.
And the audience is with Rey in
right.
this moment, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's
yeah,
talking
right.
to us.
Yeah. And I totally get that. But, I mean, like, that might be an unhealthy projection of your own self into the movie, though.
Well, no, I think there are moments where, in The Last Jedi, I feel specifically, the audience is with, so to speak, certain characters. You're in their point of view. Like, Rey is here to learn what happened to Luke Skywalker. So are we.
Sure.
And Poe is, here to save the day. So are we, or whatever. But the last thing I'll say about Luke is similar to the Poe Holdo thing I was saying earlier. Rey is new, relatively speaking. Luke is not new. But I felt, and I think a lot of other people did too, that Luke was being treated as if he was new, and Yoda literally bops him on the head and says, like, he's about to destroy the Jedi texts. It's a very weighty and emotional decision for him. He hesitates. And Yoda goes and says, the Jedi texts, page turners, they were not. And it's this kind of thing where Luke is basically Obi-Wan at this point, in my eyes. And he's being like spun around. Whereas Rey seemed to have intuitively understood certain truths about the Jedi Order or something. And I am wrong about some of this, but it's the impression that it left that caused a lot of this hate, I think.
I can agree with that's the impression that it left on people. I can't really say I understand what you mean by Rey. I don't really know what she exactly knows intuitively in this movie.
In the Rey Luke struggle, if you will, it was Rey trying to get Luke back. Does that make sense? Like, Rey is the one almost like not training Luke, but bringing him back in.
Yeah, but I think that's the point.
And it is. And I'm saying that, again, like, having Luke be the one that needs to go more development than Rey in this movie hit a lot of people the wrong way.
Well, I think that goes back into the whole fact that they had to incorporate these legacy characters in it, you know? And, like, I'm sure you could do it. Like, there's a very thin line of, like, balancing, like, establishing these new characters and, like, making sure that these old characters get the send-off they deserve or whatever. But, like, because there's so much space in between, there needs to be that development. And just, again, with the going back to The Force Awakens, like, just starting with that premise, there's already so many flaws. There's only so many directions that you can go with these characters. And I know that a lot of people are upset with how Luke was treated. He's not the golden boy that people remember. But I think Rian did a good job at, like, at least trying to explain how he got there without making a Luke Skywalker movie.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
When you ask the question of why would Luke be, like, just staying on this island, on this planet by himself for so long and not aiding his friends, what better answer could you give, really? I'm wondering.
Yeah, like, what was he supposed to do?
Like, if, like, Rian says this in interviews, you know, he's like, or behind the scenes, I don't know how there's any other way to tell it without making Luke look more like a coward than he already does going this route. Otherwise, it's just like, if he's decided to stay out of this because he thinks it's the best thing to do for everyone, that kind of makes sense why he's still here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like he's just afraid to go back, like, which he is deep down. I just don't understand what people could have possibly perceived he was doing here. That, like, they were so upset that he was doing what he was in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, I agree with everything you guys said, and I'm now talking to the people at Saltier Than Crate. Look, come back. It's not too late.
It's not too late.
It's not. You don't be, don't stab me because I'm your dad or something. You can love this movie. There are things to love about it, and we're gonna go into that.
Yeah, well, I like seeing that Luke has to, like, actually find his way again. That so much has happened in these past 30 years that we don't get to see, but. So much has happened. That's another problem. All the intriguing things that led him to become this way, we don't get to see.
Yeah, no, like, I wish I saw more of the losses, because I think it's incredibly impactful that you get, like, the hero of Star Wars turning into this complete hermit who doesn't want anything to do with it. And when he talks about how he has to live up to this legend, you know, and how it's affected him and how he can't deal with failure the same way, I think that's incredibly, like, just a very complex character that I really enjoy, and I wanted to know more about that for sure. But yeah, I don't think that people need to be upset over, like, that's not my Luke Skywalker. It's just like, well, yeah, this isn't about him anymore, really. That's what they're trying to do. But when you set the setting as in, here's some of your old friends and stuff like that, like, things change. Like, that's just how it has to be, and it's not really their story anymore.
Yeah.
You gotta be cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's just like, what do you expect when you have to keep all these legacy characters in there? You know, fans were interested in seeing them again. What would possibly make you happy?
Yeah, and like,
besides them just doing exactly the same shit they were always doing.
Yeah, like, Luke was 20 years old in the original trilogy, and you're going to tell me years later that he's supposed to be exactly the same? Like, no, that doesn't show any character growth.
I'm not even
at
the
all.
same as I was, like, 3 years ago. I mean, come on.
It's just character growth, and I do think that there needs to be more, like, development. It was under development in the movie just because of, like, time constraints and what they were able to work with, but I do think it's better for that character rather than what your expectations of Luke Skywalker are supposed to be.
And remember, this is JJ's fault.
Yeah, fuck JJ.
This is all JJ.
A lot of people, like,
No.
I told you guys this before, but people have said that when Luke throws the lightsaber over his shoulder, that's what Rian did to JJ's ideas and stuff.
Okay, yeah, I want to get into this, yeah.
Yeah,
Because,
it's like fucking
look,
relax.
there's so many people who are their anus hurts so much.
Flames coming out of your butthole.
It's just like, oh my God, dude, calm down. First of all, it's just a movie. Let's just be real here.
Yeah.
Like, this is supposed to just be nice fluff entertainment. First of all, Secondly, countless people who are so mad and butthurt about this, about Luke being ruined or how Johnson hates Star Wars. No. I mean, when you watch any of these behind the scenes, I mean, it's the same with any of these guys, really. I mean, you can see they all care about Star Wars and they're all interested in the fandom and the history and everything. But I mean, I think especially, though, Ryan, more so than JJ, seems to have more of an understanding of Star Wars and the concepts and the lore, really, than JJ
exactly.
does,
That is required to make a complex storyline, you know?
And it's just really... I remember it was a lot more volatile when the movie came out.
Right.
I just think it was just so shocking how little factual knowledge that these people have about the situation and how they really tried to make... And I know that Mark Hamill has said some things that aren't super positive about The Last Jedi or the way the character was handled. But they definitely, these people take these things and they just try to twist them to like make it the most hateful they can possibly make it.
Right.
It's just, I feel like they're being that YouTuber Mike Zero. I just want to give a shout out right now. If our fans who listen to this don't know who Mike Zero is, thank God.
Don't go looking.
If you want to go looking just to see how worthless his channel is, this guy literally just like, all he does is spew lies and baseless accusations about things. Mostly he just seems to want to make the fan community hate Kathleen Kennedy as much as possible. That's a lot of it.
Yep.
This guy makes like 4 videos a day that are all like 8 to 10 minutes. And every video is substanceless. He just says the same like 5 or 6 sentences over and over again.
I can hear him responding to our channel now. A lot of people are saying that the channel Ewok Talk is not representative of Star Wars. As we can see here, Ewok Talk is run by Diana and Nick and Mo. And a lot of people are saying it's not representative.
As we all know, it's not representative of the fans. And we know the fans don't like Ewok Talk.
They don't feel represented by Ewok Talk as the fans of the Star Wars.
And just to make sure you guys know, that just wasn't a choice the Star Wars fans thought was a good one.
Now our listeners have brain damage.
I'm sorry, guys. But Mike Zero... Oh, man. Could you imagine if he listened to this podcast? That'd be so beautiful.
And remember, it was JJ's fault.
Yeah. No, it's Rian Johnson's fault.
Oh, well, my bad.
If you're Mike Zero.
Oh, yeah.
It's all Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy. Actually, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they're going to actually erase the sequel trilogy with a magic eraser, and they're going to redo the Mandalorian. It's actually going to completely redefine everything and make it all work.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But I think bringing up those quote unquote quotes from Mark Hamill, I think people need to I understand his frustration with Luke at the beginning, because it is again, for his words, out of his comfort zone, and I understand that he does feel ownership to this character because he is Luke Skywalker for sure. But at the end of the day, Mark Hamill is not a writer. He's not. That's just the truth. He's an actor, and his job is to make it work the best that he can, and just try to understand what the difference between the character development and his expectations and the standard that he set for this character. And I think it's valid to challenge that expectation.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
This phenomenon of picking out Mark Hamill quotes and pushing this narrative is just a baby version of all the shit we see in 2020 about you'll see, it'll happen on January 20th. I'm just saying, guys, it's out of context. You're projecting so much into it. It's borderline insane. The level of vitriol.
It's not even borderline.
It's this one's just about a movie, thank God. Yeah. We're really seeing this in our real lives.
Yeah.
When it comes to politics, when it comes to science, when it comes to so on and so forth.
It's scary. It's just frightening, honestly. And to go along with that, I think a lot of people think there's this huge rivalry between JJ and Rian Johnson. They hate each other and they wanted to tear down each other's ideas about the trilogy. Blah, blah, blah.
Fake news.
Yeah, no, Rian, I don't perceive him trying to take a dump on JJ's ideas at all when I watch this movie. He clearly had some out there ideas that people did not like, but he didn't do it to be like, fuck you, JJ. Like,
Right.
this was a stupid Force Awakens sucks.
Yeah, and JJ likes the script.
Yeah.
He liked the script.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said it himself. I wish I wrote this, and I'm like, I wish you wrote it too, JJ.
Yeah. Ryan finished the script for the sequel before The Force Awakens was even done, before it was out. Ryan had advanced screenings to see this movie so he could start writing his movie.
Right.
It's amazing that people think that JJ hated it so much because JJ saw the script and he read it and he was like, he told his friend, we have the quote, his guy, Greg Grunberg. These guys have been friends since they were little kids, apparently. And he's like, yeah, he read it and said, it's so good, I wish I were making it. That's a fact. In a different interview that I found on, it's Wired. So if you don't think that's a reputable site, sure. I mean, I don't know. You can fight me about it. He says that Ryan's an incredibly accomplished filmmaker, a good story writer. And he says that the story that he told with like episode 8 was very much in line with like what they were thinking, or like the direction they were thinking about going in. The thing is, that's from 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's well before The Last Jedi came out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, well, what is he supposed to get? Obviously, he's just like saying that for press interviews and shit. It's like, you conspiracy theorist fucks.
Yeah.
Would you just relax for a second?
Yeah, this idea that, like, of course, JJ was being paid by the mouse to keep quiet. It's like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do if J.J. Abrams came out and said, I don't like Ryan, they're going to shoot him? They're going to shoot JJ?
Yeah,
what do you
cap
guys
him in
think
the
is going to
back of the
happen? What do you think is
Oh
going to
my
happen?
God.
It is, again, it's insane.
Ryan Johnson, we love you. I think that he is a hot take. Everything that people hate about The Last Jedi was cemented or foundationally built in The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
So it
I
is
mean, I agree.
JJ's fault.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's anyone's fault that the trilogy was so mixed in how the story went.
But if you had to pick someone,
Starts with a J, ends with a J.
But dog, if you had to pick though, dog.
J.J. Abrams.
JJ, I don't know. I mean, even if you think about it that way, you can't blame him because this is years of fans being like, we only kind of like the original trilogy.
it's your
So what are you supposed to do with it then?
Let's unmask the true
here's the
culprit
thing.
here.
I mean, like, I like, do I blame JJ? Like, sure, to an extent, but at the same time, it's a huge responsibility.
Right.
Like, this is a huge fucking task to put together. There's so much that goes into it. So you're not going to get shit perfect. But
Yeah, and clearly a lot of people loved that first one, that Force Awakens.
Right.
Like, well, we didn't really touch on it that much, but overwhelmingly people.
yeah,
Really like
all of
that
a sudden,
movie.
everybody fucking likes Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, all these people that in my, people from school that never liked Star Wars, all talking about how they like Star
It was
Wars.
so cool. Be a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
It did help definitely make Star Wars more accessible to new people.
Sure,
For
yeah.
sure. Like,
Disney.
I'll give them that. To sum up the last of this vitriolic fan base stuff, I think we should probably talk about Rose Tico.
Womp womp.
And
And that's not, like, we're not saying that about Rose herself.
Oh, we're saying about the people that are so vocally
yeah.
hateful towards that.
First of all, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. I could never be so embarrassed to be a Star Wars fan than I am for that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's such a fucking shame. I feel awful about the way that she was treated.
so let me just read this so that people, if they somehow don't know the context,
Yeah,
can understand it. In this article from Variety, people didn't like this Rose Tico character. So what do? It's the year 2017. So what are people going to do? They're going to go on social media and they're going to talk about how they hate the actress because that character ruined the movie. And they're going to add her on Twitter. And they're going to do all these mean things. And so this article from Variety is like, Kelly Marie Tran, who was the first lead female character of color in the iconic series, had been criticized by Star Wars fans for her performance, looks, and Asian ethnicity. Alt-right personality Paul Ray Ramsey took aim at her appearance publicly, and the Wikipedia page for Tran's character was altered by contributors with offensive racist language. That article didn't really mention in depth how many people really went at her. I mean, like, they were attacking pretty much all of her social media accounts.
Yep.
It's just so pathetic. It really is.
It's really fucking
No matter
sad.
how much you dislike a character, don't at these actors, like telling them they're like worthless and making fun of their looks or their race. What's wrong with you?
It's similar to how Jar Jar was treated, but worse in that how much social media has grown.
Right.
And it's just a fucking shame. Even if you dislike the character, that you can't separate that between like a real fucking person. Like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. Just like, first of all, her performance was good.
Yeah.
She's a very good
Thank you.
actress.
Yes, let's not give in an inch to this claim.
Exactly. She, like, if you don't like the character, that's one thing, but that's not her fucking fault.
That's right.
How is it appropriate to react that way towards, oh, I don't like this character,
Right.
so I'm gonna be a fucking racist online?
Right.
And I don't want any of this to be lost in like, oh, sensitivity, oh, this, oh, that. Like, when you read this stuff, it's really, really actually disgusting.
Yeah.
Because I didn't actually know about this guy.
Paul Ray Ramsey.
Paul Ray Ramsey until I saw your notes and I looked it up and I was actually mad. It's insane, but there's no other words for it. You know, it's almost like it's just a shame. It's a black mark really on the legacy of Star Wars. I think it's that serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That people are behaving this way, and it's not what anybody who actually cares about the films cares about.
Right.
You know.
I don't think there's any more we can really say about it besides how awful it is.
No, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I am an Asian American woman. So there.
I'm not listening anymore.
So, like, not to make this about me or anything like that, but just seeing that kind of treatment towards someone because so directed towards their race and their like place in Star Wars, it hurts because it makes me feel like I don't get to belong in Star Wars, and Star Wars is definitely something that I grew up with, and I think it's a valid for me to feel that I could exist here. But the idea that so much hate was directed to this woman, and so much of it is pointed towards her race and her gender and whatever, and her looks, like, it was very isolating. Yeah, I know that people are just like, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just whatever, it's just my opinion. It's just like, they have ramifications. They affect people. It affects more than just the person you're attacking, if that wasn't bad enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
And if we can't talk about the ramifications a little, let me know if we can save this for later. But she's basically cut out of the last movie.
Since we're mentioning her character, though, maybe we should talk about how we felt about her in this film and the Canto Bight subplot and whatnot with Finn. Personally, I don't hate it nearly as much as like most people do, I think. But I think I'm in more of a minority on that one. I like the overall ideas and message that part of the movie is trying to get at.
It does seem like she was kind of shoved in to the movie.
What I really do appreciate about her character is we don't really get too many moments where it feels like there's high stakes in the sequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But you really do feel bad for, her sister being killed pretty senselessly, honestly, pointlessly in that bombing run. And it's cool to see such a smaller, less important character have them have more screen time, and see how they look up to the quote unquote heroes like Finn.
Yeah.
I really like that stuff.
I think I would have been interested in is seeing some conflict between her and Poe. I think that really would have nailed
been
down.
interesting,
Yeah, no, because it accomplishes that Poe isn't always right, what they wanted to do in that movie.
Right.
And it gives depth to these characters, these small characters, or minor characters, rather. It gives them more depth, and I think that's important. I think that would have been a better direction. But yeah, no, I don't hate that character at all. I think that she was utilized. She could have been utilized better. But boy, did she free those horses.
And I will say, I'm still struggling to figure out what exactly the point of Canto Bight is, other than just seeing this different side of the galaxy with these super rich assholes and whatnot that don't really care about everything going on, very separated from it, and seeing these children who are, kind of enslaved here for the horse races or whatever. I do like how they set up those kids, and we do go back to them later on in the film and whatnot, and that plays into seeing how the galaxy as a whole is affected by this war. And DJ's point of view. I guess I just like that stuff because it shows the different point of views of people who aren't really connected to the war. You know what I mean? We don't really get to see that in a sequel trilogy, minus like this moment, essentially.
Yeah, I thought in that way, Canto Bight really fleshed out the Star Wars universe a little bit. But one quick note about the bombing run scene. I thought it was a beautiful scene. I thought, you can feel Ryan's presence in that it was so unique in terms of Star Wars scenes. There's slow-mo, there's like the silence. I just want to leave that there. Here are the problems with Canto Bight. Number one, people who complain about a casino, they're stupid. Don't even listen to them. There can be casinos in Star Wars. There can be swimming pools. There can be all kinds of like stuff you can't even picture. Fine.
Yeah.
The problem with Canto Bight for me, one, and I'm kind of, I've been strongly influenced by Red Letter Media on this one. Like, yeah, it seems like a comedy of errors, specifically comedy. Oh my God, I parked my ship in the wrong place. Oh my God, I trusted the wrong guy. Oh my God, can you help us with? Oh, you can't help us? Oh, you can? And it just like, again and again, they're mistakes. They are getting in their own way so many times. And I'd like to remind everyone how high stakes this mission was. The rebellion was on the verge of being completely wiped out by the First Order. They are the only hope, objectively, of getting away from that. And what killed it for me is that when Finn completely failed, he said, it was all worth it. It was worth it just to make him hurt. No, it was not worth it. It literally wasn't worth it.
Like you guys were supposed to be doing something here.
What? It's literally like if you had a movie where a bunch of Allied soldiers have to break into Hitler's house to like free the entire French resistance, and instead they like made fun of some Italians or something in some seaside resort. It's preposterous.
Oh yeah, horses.
Definitely. Like they didn't really, and it's just luck that DJ can help them out.
Oh, and
for sure.
On that note, there's only one industry in the galaxy that'll make you that rich. Is it finance? Is it technology? Is it
arms
energy?
dealing?
It's.
I don't know why.
My face is contorting into shapes no one has ever seen before. It was such a hackneyed political point because it goes fist in glove with DJ's points like there's no good guys and there's no bad guys. And it's like, this is Star Wars. One of them is like a zombie. And the other one is Daisy Ridley. So make a choice.
Yeah, right. I agree. I think that's kind of a problem with like Star Wars, the original trilogy concepts. Like you can't really, it's hard to make that gray area, because it's not really, at least us as the audience know it's not really a gray area.
Yeah.
Like we know these people are evil beyond doubt. I think there's a lot of dumb writing decisions that went into this stuff. I think I like the positives. I don't care as much about the negatives as you do, but I do agree that, yeah, there's a lot of dumb stuff.
There's some misses. There's
a lot of misses there.
There's some heavy misses.
I guess that part of the film doesn't really drag down my enjoyment of like the great scenes with Kylo and Rey and Luke. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, it just feels like a missed opportunity to do something better with that time.
And it was a lot of time. But yes, I dropped it. I'm dropping
it. Yeah.
Speaking of misses, Leia's Mary Poppins moment. What can you say?
Conceptually cool.
Yeah.
The way it was done,
cringe.
I think it's like it's complicated because I think the scene that leads up to that is a very thoughtful moment, or it's Kylo Ren.
Oh yeah,
he
totally.
just kills fucking dad.
Right,
and it's just like, all right, mom,
you're nuts. Here we go.
And you see, like Carrie Fisher has like this coach, just like my stupid boy.
Yeah.
Is like, and you see like the struggle that he has, which is important to establish with Kylo Ren because he just did this heinous act of like killing his father. And you think like, oh, he's completely dark side now. But when it comes to his mom, he gets so close to it and he's like, I can't do it. Which proves that there is still this conflict within him. Like he's not completely turned yet. And then you follow it up with just R.I.P. Carrie Fisher floating in space. And it just looked weird.
I think everyone knows that she had passed away before the film was released. So
right.
I think a lot of people in the theater thought, oh, I guess that's how she goes,
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there was more.
And it's hard for me to say after having seen the behind the scenes for episode 9,
Yeah.
where they so, you can really feel how the cast and crew felt, and they're so gentle and respectful and thoughtful about how they're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll own up to something here. I mean, when I saw it, I said they should have just left it there. And that is callous of me to say as a fan, not thinking of the people who are making this. So it's something for the listeners to think about. Like, there are people behind these movies that are working very hard.
Her fucking daughter is in this is in these movies,
Right, yeah.
And I do respect that they kept her in The Last Jedi, but and we'll get to how it feels in the Rise of Skywalker. But
I will say, I actually am glad that they did not kill her in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I am now, Sam.
Yeah, I am glad. I think she is important in helping Poe realize, like, how dumb he was being,
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I think, in fact, she was the only one who was capable of getting that point across.
Yeah.
Insofar as it was Holdo doing it, it didn't work on me at all. But when it was her, I felt it.
Yeah.
And for the scene itself, frankly, it helps me to think of it as, like, it wasn't a conscious choice to fly through space. It was just the Force acting, how it acts.
This may be a dumb question. I should have looked into it beforehand, but this whole sequence of the thing getting exploded and then her floating to, like, that was all established before she passed away, like, clearly, because that's how the movie is shot, right?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah,
but-
definitely, yes.
yeah, so
she
it-
did not pass away at that time.
Exactly. So it's a sad coincidence that she passed before the movie came out and stuff, but, like, it wasn't a intentional, like, fake out because she's dead
Right,
kind of
right,
thing,
right.
Right. I'm not really sure anyone thought that, though.
Well, no, I did.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and what a
Thought
spectacular...
that was an intentional fake out?
No, well, yeah. I mean, it intentional is hard to say, but when you saw the movie, you had really so many people had just heard she died, and so it was just the most bizarre series of coincidences that led to this situation.
I don't think anyone thought it was Ryan trying to subvert my expectation because he knows the character. You know what I'm saying? That's
You
what I
never
meant.
know. You never know, man.
There's just a lot of subverting going on.
I would
I'm
li-
sure people think.
I would love to
Yeah,
give
right.
people credit, but
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
can't-
saying,
you
a lot
can't.
of subverting going on at the time. I was confused. It was dark. I don't know.
but I think I do appreciate that they established that she does wield the Force.
Finally.
Yeah.
So I guess probably the last contentious point between fans in this film is the decision to just kill off Snoke in the fashion that Ryan did. And how do you guys feel about that? I think we already kind of touched on how we don't really care for Snoke, but yeah, let me know how you felt.
Like we said, I never really cared about Snoke. I didn't really see him as a threat or anything like that. But in this movie, in the fashion that he was killed, I'm glad that he was killed. However, I do think it was just a little lame when he was, like, listing out what, like, Kylo Ren was doing. Like, I see you. Because it's like, what's going to happen.
I am going to flip because I was literally going to say that was so cool and you were saying it's lame. And
I
what
think
the
it was
hell?
lame. I'm sorry.
I agree with Mo.
I thought it was lame.
Thank you.
Well, because the thing is that what's going to happen.
Sure.
You couldn't see it.
You see it coming, but that's the whole point. It's like you see it coming, and you're like, ha ha ha.
You like when his head rolled, when his head's sliding, and it's all like,
Sure.
You like that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool guys.
I liked it because it was poetic. It was poetic. I see him turning his saber.
I
to
like
strike.
what it
liked it,
represented.
too.
I just was not a fan of the execution.
It's
Literally,
downright Shakespearean.
Look, I liked it. Here's the reason why I liked it personally. I do like it for the reasons Mo liked it, and I understand why you didn't like that, and that's fine. Here's the thing, though. I know you can see it coming, and I know there's more foreshadowing before that point of Kylo, like, making a turn, and you think, oh, maybe he's going to be turned, like, to Rey's side or whatever. But what I love about that is as soon as that happens, as soon as Kylo decides to kill Snoke, that was when I was finally on board with this trilogy of, like, now I'm not just sitting there desperately waiting for something different and new to happen, because this is it. Now you can take it in a new, interesting direction. We can see Kylo take over or do whatever or join Rey. It just seemed like it was actually doing something, pushing the character finally. You know what I mean?
right?
And like,
Yeah.
Right. And setting up new possibilities.
Again, I am glad the scene happened. I do think it was necessary, and I do think that it does, catapult the plot to change in whatever direction. However, it was just a little heavy-handed. It was just a little heavy-handed with, wow, he is like predicting what I see Kylo Ren doing the thing, turning on his lightsaber and striking the like.
You can say it.
I can't agree with you. Yeah,
You can use as many funny voices as you want. It was a dope scene.
I'm sorry. It's just you're not getting me. I'm sorry.
Do you know what Diana sees right now? It's like that picture of the person in the pool who hasn't pissed themselves, and the rest of them making fun of her.
What?
We'll post it on the Instagram.
Okay, I don't know what he's talking about.
But what I wanted to say is that the Snoke being killed is for the expectation subverter. It was the expectation. Every other expectation subverted was merely a shadow of Snoke being subverted by my expectation.
I'm so glad that he's dead.
But like this was like, whoa, this
don't
really
get me
opened
wrong,
it up.
guys. I'm cool with it.
Right, I know, and I think so. But now knowing what we know, what was Snoke? Was Palpatine's consciousness in Snoke?
The thing is that the idea is that he's been like cloning these and like creating these pickled Snokes.
Mm-hmm.
Why you gotta look like that?
Oh, there's a reason. The reason is because they don't purposely make them look like that. They don't grow them to look like that, even though for some reason they do, because you see it in the Rise of Skywalker. But the explanation is, I guess, that the dark side has like such a crippling, destructive effect on these clones' bodies that like they're deformed.
You remember how in Return of the Jedi they kept Admiral Akbar even though he looked ugly because the director wanted people to understand that ugly people can be good and good-looking people can be bad.
I don't think he's ugly.
Oh, he's hideous.
Okay.
No, it's the opposite in this movie. Snoke is ugly because he bad. We actually did an episode about this, guys. Like 4 weeks ago.
Nick is currently kissing his Admiral Akbar toy that we got from Will Russo. Yay, Will! You don't listen to this podcast, but that's fine.
But did Admiral Akbar consent? Find out next time on Ewok Talk.
Ooh.
And I'm so fucking glad all these people like Snoke.
Oh, all the conspiracy theories, all the fan theories.
Yeah, it's like,
Snoke,
haha.
Is Snoke plagious?
Shut up.
Look, it would
Get
have been
out
dope.
here.
No, it would not.
It would not have been dope.
It
Yeah.
would not.
It would have been dope if Snoke was his own person.
Yeah, it would have. I don't know. It's just, I don't think there's any explanation that would have satisfied me as a fan of like the films that would have made any sense. Okay, where the hell was Snoke this whole time? Why is he so powerful? Why is he taking over? Why does he know all the things about Darth Vader and whatnot? Why? There's so many questions that don't make any sense, no matter how you try to explain them.
I am a big fan of the Sith when it comes to Star Wars. And in the movies, I only know 4 Sith. And of those Sith, I only know really 2 of them, Palpatine and Darth Vader. And so it would have been cool to have another Sith. But they can't, they just won't let me have it.
I think they could have another Sith, but why did they have to make him look like he's centuries old? And I don't know, whatever.
I'm just saying, if he was a charming guy, maybe things would have changed. I would have changed my mind about a few things.
Kylo's a Sith. 5 Sith.
Okay.
Fist Sith.
All right, so before we dive into the dumpster fire that is Rise of Skywalker, let's talk about our favorite scenes from The Last Jedi. I know it's not really much of a scene. It's a very short thing. I love seeing Yoda. That puppet, he looked cool.
Yobi.
I liked him. He was weird. He was a little insane. At first, I was kind of concerned that he was going to do something mean to Luke. Yeah. Because his demeanor's strange. But he looked great. And I liked seeing him talk to Luke. That was nice. And so my other scene is, I actually really love the scene where Kylo and Rey get to like fight all of those Snoke's guards right afterwards. Because that's a oh shit moment, right? Snoke just got chopped in half and you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Is Kylo going to fight Rey? Are they going to run away? They're going to team up? Oh shit. And it was just like a lot of oh shit at this, one after the other, and just seeing that fight was just really satisfying, I gotta say.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I know a lot of people complain about the choreography and how it doesn't
my
make
God,
sense, but it's just
so
like,
many
yo,
people.
hey, shut the fuck up. It looks cool. Like,
it's entertaining to watch.
yeah.
There are many videos on YouTube, hour-long videos on YouTube, where it's like, the choreography of the Praetorian Guard fight scene is fucking stupid, blah, blah, blah. I get that they twirl around, do some kind of dumb shit that doesn't make sense for someone who's purposely trying to kill someone to do. But I don't know. It's hard to say that it was shot and choreographed poorly when there's so many characters to keep track of and all that moving elements and the to keep that composition looking the right way. It's just like there's so many factors that go into it. I think I read somewhere they spent a long time choreographing and filming that. It wasn't just we'll just shit this out and it'll be good. Might be my favorite fight scene from the trilogy.
One, it looks cool, period. It looks cool. Secondly, what that scene means.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
like
right.
the impact that it makes on these characters and the story in general is so impactful that you can't overlook it just because in real life the choreography would be weird.
Thank you. Listen, you guys are such geniuses. Go ahead. Send us a link of a group fight against two guys that looks better than this.
No.
So much better than this.
Better yet, and because I understand movies have choreography and whatnot. Why don't you choreograph a fight scene and edit it and shoot it and whatnot, and then you send it to me, and I'll tell you how good it is.
Yeah.
Or better yet, we'll get two friends. You come here with one of your friends, and we'll beat the shit out of you.
And we'll film it and we'll put it on YouTube, and it'll be great.
That challenge is active for everyone who's not Jackie Chan, Mr. Chan.
We're
okay.
Jackie Chan
Right.
is a fan of the podcast.
And I feel like it's so easy for people to say, oh, the choreography was bad. Like, who was working on this? Didn't you choreograph it? I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but it is kind of baffling to me, like how many people don't understand how hard it is to do these things without people getting hurt.
Also, if I can make a point here, think back to when you were a child and you saw episode 2 and you saw them pouring into that arena and how epic and cool it felt. That was disgustingly choreographed. Like it was a complete joke.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense that like 40 Jedi surrounded by 10,000 troops don't die. But you know what? None of that matters. It was cool. It was super cool.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. You can use that as an argument against things by saying, well, it's just because, it looks cool. Don't pretend that's not a factor into like creating action scenes or fun movies. There's a cool factor, and if it works, it works.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say
This
about
is
that.
science fiction / fantasy. Like,
Right.
come on, guys.
It's just like, we already know, I mean, the physics, like you said, already don't make any sense at all.
It's like, why stop at the choreography? How are they breathing in space? Like,
Exactly. It's just...
I'll do you
so
one
many
better.
things.
Why do people with swords win against people with guns? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's endless. If you want to nitpick, it's endless, you know?
yeah.
You know what's funny? For a movie that I was apparently so iffy on, I have a lot of favorite scenes. I will give 2. One, because of how cool it looked. I thought the Holdo maneuver was the coolest scene in Star Wars ever. In terms of like, whoa, that was cool. Whoa.
That's a great moment.
Yep.
And that's a great story moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought the Force connection is kind of an extended sequence. The Force connection between Rey and Kylo in that hut. So real, so tense, such genuine emotions. Then your dad walks in and he literally catches you with your cousin and he brings the house down. It's so weird. And
awkward moment.
and then you fight your dad because you think he's a killer or something. But no, I thought it was amazing. Like when she was fighting Luke, she pulled a lightsaber on Luke Skywalker. And it's amazing more people don't point that out. And the reason is because it was solidly built up. It was backed up. It was supported. You know, that's why that scene is, for me, like, the best.
There are a lot of things that I did enjoy about this movie, a lot of the scenes. I think it was just really gorgeous in general, to be completely honest. Like, so much of it is shot in such a way that is captivating to the eye. The Battle of Crate was really cool. Again, just like the combination of that deep red and the white looks awesome.
Right.
I really enjoyed that bomber squad sequence where they get rid of that dreadnought. Yes. I think it was an important scene because you get to see these minor characters and what their role is in all of this. And just the way that it was like built out was really cool. I really like Paige Tico. I think he's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I can't say that. I can't say that.
Yeah, well,
I guide others to a treasure I can't possess.
right.
But I just thought it was very meaningful. I think Ryan was giving credit where credit was due because there are a lot of casualties here. And executing that moment was very compelling for me.
I agree. I mean, when I first saw that scene, it was actually, I mean, so much of this movie was unexpected. It was actually really unexpected to be in this big bomber sequence. And like, you know, obviously we were following Poe around his point of view in the cockpit and all that. And then to suddenly be shifted to this character we don't know at all, who's a very minor character. And yeah, just seeing the battle through her eyes and seeing what she, like this task that she has to accomplish, and like knowing that it's all kind of the weight of this mission is on her shoulders now, and seeing her complete it, but ultimately having to make this final sacrifice as well was just really powerful.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
All my favorite scenes, I guess, is not just what it is in the moment, but what it means for the rest of the movie, for the rest of the characters, and how it affects them. So, yeah, I think that's what it really comes down to. They did a really great job with this one glimpse of this minor character and how that ultimately affects everything else.
Oh yeah, little claps.
Yep.
Little claps. Thank you, Ryan.
I would just like to say I really did enjoy Rey in this movie. Like, this is the first time where I really felt with her, which is one thing. And also that the scene where she's with Luke and he's trying to get her to interact with the Force, that montage of what she feels and how she...
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
beautiful. It was.
Do you remember that? Where she was like, I feel it's like death and life. And it's just like that montage of cuts of things around the island. Oh, you didn't like that?
This fellow's a little Nat Geo.
I think he did a really good job of demonstrating what that balance is and using the island itself as a representation of that, like this place where Luke is staying and how it's all around him, but she doesn't sense any of it from him. You know, I think it was a very strong moment for both of those characters.
Totally.
Mine is literally a nitpick, right? Like, I thought that conceptually it was great. I just didn't like the way it looked for a second. If I can have another pick of the nit, please. When they're lining up at the end on Crate in that trench to fight, it should have been a lot more hopeless than it was. Like, on Hoth, you at least had some kind of, like, anti-tank weapons or, like, installations. Here it's just, like, 30 dudes with rifles versus, what, 30 guerrilla walkers? Like, there was an opportunity there to really instill hopelessness, similar to what he did in the beginning, the costs of war and so on. And I thought that was, but hey, whatever. Luke came and saved the day, so what am I going to complain about?
Salt.
I don't know. Yeah. Salt. I thought the hopelessness actually came through pretty well when they were like, when those ski speeders were like trying to do their thing, and then the Poe was kind of like, all right, yeah, this is not going to work. Fuck this. I thought that was pretty good. Thinking back on everything we've said now about The Last Jedi, I think the big takeaway is that the best thing that Rian Johnson did with his movie is really showing a lot of different viewpoints throughout the galaxy. And I thought his characters were actually pretty strong, honestly.
Agreed. A good movie.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Fuck.
Here is the last thing, and you know what I'm going to say. Broom Boy.
Ah, Broom Boy.
I don't like Broom Boy.
Broom Boy.
You don't like Broom Boy?
I don't like Broom Boy.
I like the message of Broom Boy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I
Me
don't
too.
like Broom Boy.
And I think, like... So, when's the Broom Boy trilogy
Come on.
happening? You remember when people were so, like, they were so mad at this movie that, like, this was another thing that they were like, oh, and now Broom Boy is going to be in
Yeah,
this.
one of them's right here, man. They're
What the
just
fuck
making
are you
fun of
talking
you. Were
about?
just making fun of Broom Boy.
I'm not saying he's getting a movie, though.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about, you know,
Oh, that's
there
what
were
you're saying?
people,
Yes.
yeah, there were,
Look at this guy over here, this idiot.
there were
I was
people that
born
were so
stupid.
mad at this movie that they thought that the Broom Boy kid was going to be
Like
an
he's an-
actual integral character.
Like he's a new guy that's
And it
gonna...
was just like, wow, you have to be pretty pathetic to reach that far and think, wow,
It's so obvious that he's not.
he's just
It's-
the kid.
No, you know what's going to happen? Rey's gonna meet Broom Boy and then fall in love with him, and then like 10 years later, when Broom Boy's of age, they will start dating. No, imagine if that happened in the Star Wars movie.
Broom Boy hates sand too.
And he was a slave.
Oh shit!
Oh, yeah. Why does this rich casino planet have slaves? Whatever. Leave it. Don't even
Because they're
start.
rich.
Yeah, I don't know.
I understand why a junkie planet like Tatooine has slaves.
Or Jakku. Well, Jakku, I guess she's not really a slave. She kind of is.
Whatever. It just doesn't make sense for like the Bellagio to have slaves.
Like
yeah.
you can pay your workers.
Yeah, or have robots.
Right.
Also,
Yeah.
that's true.
I like that in my headcanon, they're the children of people who could never pay their gambling debts.
Good stuff. All right. Well, that was our take on The Last Jedi. So tell us all about how much you hate the film and whatnot in the comments.
And how stupid we are, and
How
how
dumb
we don't get
are, and
Star
we
Wars.
don't like Star Wars, and Ryan's the worst person on the planet and whatnot. I think we'll probably just cut that out. There's no reason to say that.
And how you hate Asian American women.
No.
I only hate Asian American men.
And now we move into the most anticipated film in the Skywalker saga. Episode 9. The Rise of Skywalker. Here we are. The dead speak. Rise of Skywalker. Where to begin with this one? What I would like to say first is that a common opinion among most people that I've seen reviews on YouTube or read articles about is that The Last Jedi left JJ and Chris Terrio, the writers of Rise of Skywalker, with essentially nothing to work off of for their final film, which is why we shouldn't really be surprised at how bad it turned out.
What a take.
What on earth are you smoking? Like, that's exactly the opposite of how I feel about it.
People will carry any amount of water to not blame JJ for episode 9.
Sky's the
Really,
limit.
yeah. They end it at the end of Last Jedi with, like, you could literally do anything with that. You could have Kylo just be the main villain. You could have Kylo
Be the main villain.
Well, I mean, he should
Snoke is back.
he should have been the main villain. Why do we need to have Palpatine?
I guess the point is that there's so many directions that you could have.
There's so many
Taken?
directions you could have done without bringing back Palpatine. I think is the
exactly.
thing. Is like, why?
Who are the Sith Eternal? Maybe we find out who the Sith Eternal are.
I mean, it would have been cool if that was set up at all in the previous 2 films. That would have been kind of interesting, you know? Nope. No matter how you felt about The Last Jedi, I think everyone was kind of on the same page of like, well, that was something. That was fucking something. What were your guys' like first impressions when we saw it in theaters? Because we all saw this one together.
We saw this one together. We were together then. I was young and skinny.
Yes.
I did like the movie. I enjoyed it. I was entertained and stuff. Like I said, I think that it does have some scenes in it that I found to be redeeming of other things in previous movies. But, you know, like, wait, what can you really say?
Just what in the world were you thinking,
There's just
JJ?
like, hey, let's kind of answer some questions, but also pose new questions that it's like, who knows?
I just want to say, why does Chris Terrio have a job? How does he get hired to do anything?
Ooh.
So I know that's being mean to the man, but I mean, come on, what the hell? Like, this guy seems to have the worst ideas.
Yeah, if I could describe my emotional state, coming out of The Force Awakens, it was one of hope. I was like, yeah, all right, yeah, it could be good. Maybe next movie, I can't wait. And coming out of The Last Jedi, I was confused. I was like, oh, yeah, that was a lot of stuff. I wonder what's going to happen next. I think it was good. I don't know. And going into The Rise of Skywalker with you guys, I had already hurt myself by reading the leaks. I couldn't help
Oh,
it.
this guy read the leaks.
I read the leaks.
Yikes.
Tisk.
Yikes.
And when I read those leaks, I was like, this cannot, what I'm reading here, that's impossible. And going into The Rise of Skywalker, I felt, for the first time probably in my life, complete and utter resignation. I couldn't. I was like, I can't. I'm here out of just
God,
formality. Like, I just need
gotta
to see
get
it.
this over with.
Maybe something great will
Jeez.
happen. And as you expect, it was beautiful. And it
Yes.
sucked.
Yeah, it was very pretty.
It was great and it was terrible at the same time. there was a lot of things I enjoyed about it. But my favorite part about the experience was probably the Kylo Ren soda cup that I got.
We still have it, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Yeah, it's right there.
Behind you.
Oh, look at that.
You didn't
You didn't see it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. It's hard to turn around these chairs.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, I actually enjoyed the first third of this film. Even on the rewatch, I liked the first third. Just the first third of this film. Quite a bit. I don't think it's like inherently terrible to have Palpatine come back. I don't agree with it. I don't think they needed to do this. But honestly, like, I don't think it was that choice, just having Palpatine come back, wasn't inherently the worst thing about the movie, in my opinion. And I like what they do with Kylo going to Exegol. I like the visuals there. I like seeing Poe and Finn on the Falcon with Chewie, and an action scene, a fun, adventurous, like, they got to get this MacGuffin thing over to this other thing. That was fun. Light speed skipping was interesting. Seeing Rey trying to train through Leia, teaching her, that was
There
that
are
was
a lot
good.
of cool things about this movie.
The chemistry between the main characters was finally.
I actually liked
good.
all three main characters, besides Kylo Ren, who I've loved. But
I like Finn, Poe, and Rey together. Like,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy because I didn't really like Poe at all until this film. I actually like going to Phasma in terms of like the festival. I thought that was cool, seeing the celebration and whatnot. And I like C-3PO a lot actually in the beginning of this movie. He's
at the beginning of this
pretty. He's got some funny like lines, and he reminds me of classic 3PO more than he has in previous films. And then I wrote down what time. I think it's about 38 minutes into the movie. 40 minutes is when the movie completely just falls apart and is irredeemable after that. And this is when Rey decides she needs to do a backflip over Kylo's TIE interceptor for literally no reason. Like, she just turns and is like, I gotta walk out into the desert and see what Kylo's doing.
It's like coming at me at 1,000 miles per hour.
It's what?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
It's so stupid. And then from then on, it is just a string of terrible writing choices and dumb coincidences, insanely stupid character logic that gets us to the end of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not repeating myself if I say that it's honestly like a light went off in my heart or my brain. Like the second from the moment they say, somehow, Palpatine's back. After that, everything became so inconsequential to me. The insane pacing. Like, I felt like I went out for a run after watching the movie because we have to go from there to the Rebel base to like where Ahch-To. No, we had to go from the Rebel base to Phasma to Ahch-To to Kijimi to this to that. I'm just like, holy crap! And that's just our main trio. Like, Kylo's just jumping from planet to planet, doing this and that, and it's just so much movement, so much sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have said it before. The movie just tries to throw so much at you so fast that you can't like stop and think like, wow, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, even though you can, but I mean, it's just trying desperately to be like, no, but look it. Yeah,
It's annoying because they made it so much more complicated than it had to be. Like,
Right.
we already have these two movies that seem a little mismatched, and then they're like, here's this third one, and there you go, take it.
And how many characters, like, we got Poe's ex-love interest. We got Billy D. Williams, right? We've got Babu Frick. We've got
Babu.
Ochi. Who the hell is Ochi? What's Ochi? We've got Rey's parents. It really, like, it actually gives me a headache. And leading up to this, I saved Rise of Skywalker for last. Because when you first told me, Nick, that I have to watch these movies again, I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I finally did it like last night, and it was like getting teeth pulled. And there was a scene in the behind the scenes, and maybe we can elaborate on this part, but like they kept using this phrase. It's like, it's the right fit. It's the right fit. We have to fight Palpatine. It's the right fit. We have to be in the throne room of the Death Star. It's the right fit. And it's like, I don't think you guys know what that means. The right fit for the movie is what makes sense. Not like it has to have the bad guy from the last thing. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I agree. I completely agree with you in that, like, I have no idea what compelled them to think that they had to make these decisions.
And again, I want to highlight that they are brilliant, hardworking people who care passionately about Star Wars. And somehow this happened. It just doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, I just don't know how there's not anyone at any level who is like, really, Palpatine? Are you sure? Like,
Yeah,
we gotta do
again,
that?
it's that tightrope of, do we want this new thing or do we want to reference the old shit? And they just don't know, like, every chance to make a decision, they made the wrong decision, I feel.
Yeah, you want a real head flipper?
What?
Darth Maul should have been the bad guy. Comes out it would have been just as out of nowhere. It would have been just as out of nowhere.
Yeah,
And people would
seriously.
be like,
That would have made just as much sense.
but people would be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I haven't seen this guy in a little while. Oh, I wonder. They'd be complaining. But hey, I mean, if you're going to go crazy, just do it.
Right. I think that was their mentality in general. They were, obviously, they didn't use Darth Maul, but they were like, well, if we're going to go all out for this last movie, we might as well just do something really crazy and, like, whatever we think is going to be interesting. And whatever they thought was interesting, just clearly does not resonate with the fan base
It's like
at all.
they pulled the ideas out of a hat.
Yeah, really. I think when I was watching those behind the scenes, the Rise of Skywalker behind the scenes, what made me mad is that during all of that, they keep talking about the Rise of Skywalker like it's the end of 9 films. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're wrapping up the entire Skywalker saga. And it's like, guys, can we just stop pretending that this new trilogy can fit in or make any sense or, like, is reverent to the 6 other films? Because that's not true.
Yeah, everyone knows a saga isn't over until all the original characters are dead. So that's how it works, guys.
It's just so dumb. Especially seeing as, like, JJ specifically, I'm sure other people that worked on the movies, but he doesn't give a shit about the prequels. Yeah. So for him to be, like, pulling one line from, like, have you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis scene? And then trying to be like, see, we're tying the whole 9 together. You really fucking suck, JJ.
He called that the perfect setup. And I was like, are you serious? Then where were you when episode 7 was happening? That would have been the perfect setup, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
The perfect setup.
Yeah,
Exactly. No, that's a great point. It's just like, oh, because you didn't do any of that shit in the first fucking movie that you made. Starting is easy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god. The blame doesn't go solely to JJ, but
Come
Goes
on,
to Chris
man.
Terrio, too. You said that.
Yeah.
And I want to say the Sith Eternal is a cool idea.
Yeah.
In general, Exegol was a cool location, just as a location. I thought that was interesting. The stadium, and the throne, and powerful, creepy imagery that genuinely got me. But here's where it falls apart. Obviously, Palpatine being back is dumb, but I could at least get on board with that. Where you lose me is when he resurrects like thousands of Mega Doom Star Destroyers with Death Star beams glued to the bottom of them. And then I'm like, I'm out. That's less imaginative than Starkiller Base was.
Yeah, you thought it couldn't get worse than Starkiller Base, but it could.
But it could.
Jeez.
It's like,
Zombie
oh
ships.
my God. And it was so... They have no explanation. They're just like, yeah, they're just hiding here.
Which is actually the kind of thing that it's funny how people are okay with that and not okay with Rian Johnson's Luke staying on Skellig Island. Because if JJ did the same thing with that, Octo, and you were like, you found me. I've been building a secret weapon to destroy the Sith. And it's another rapping Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what JJ would have done.
This
So
is the Death Sun.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of true.
the life moon. Here it
Life
is.
Moon.
That's no moon. Hey, someone I know said that. I'm writing this new Star Wars movie right here, guys.
Ugh.
Oh, and I'd like to say one more thing. The throne room in this one, I'd like to softly disagree with you there. I felt like Exegol had like no character. The entire last 10, 20 minutes of the thing, it's like, oh, I get it. It's dark and it's scary. Like it works as a dreamscape.
No, I mean like that had a potential to be really interesting.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, totally. They don't do anything with it really.
Like it works as like it's almost exactly the same as the vision Rey has in Last Jedi. It's that place. And that works as a dreamscape, but not as like a setting where things live. What the hell am I looking at?
This
is ridiculous.
It would have been really interesting if they developed any of that.
Yeah, except it's like the scene out of Omen 3 with like 400 hooded dudes. Oh, these guys are bad because they have hoods? I give up. I give up with
Well,
them.
how do you build such a huge following too on this like impossible to get to place. It's confusing to say the least.
I know that maybe it sounds like to the listeners that we're not trying at all anymore with a flow chart, but it's because the movie's not trying at all. Like there's nothing to talk about.
They
here,
were
in my
all
opinion.
Force Skyped in.
Each of the Star Destroyers has a Death Star, but they can't get out of there because of the communications tower.
Oh my god, that was the dumbest shit.
I'm gonna kill myself, guys.
That was impossible to take seriously. I literally just was like, okay, great. I don't care anymore.
I fell asleep in the movie theater. I completely fell asleep. I actually didn't see the fight at all until the rewatch. Mm-hmm. I hated it.
If we just get all that really, really asinine stuff out of the way, the hardcore worst decisions in the movie are out of the way. I guess we should just touch on also, I think we all agree that Ultra Doom Lightning was the dumbest thing we've ever seen in a Star Wars film.
You don't like it?
I mean, that
Spirit Bar!
like, holy shit, was that stupid. I couldn't believe that one.
Really breathtaking. Breathtaking in the level of stupidity.
So once we get all of that shit, the worst piles of doo-doo that you can scrape
every
together.
time you say that, there's like another thing that comes up when Rey uses the Sith doubloon to find like the Wayfinder. Come on.
That's dumb, but it's on a smaller level
Yeah,
than the
yeah,
rest
fair.
of
What
it.
about when she sees Sith Rey?
Oh!
Well, that's also dumb. I mean,
Forgot
like, look,
about Sith Rey. Yeah.
there are so many stupid moments in this movie that we would talk. We could do a 10-hour podcast about that.
You know what's the highlight of the movie? Rey turns on lightsaber, Poe turns on the flashlight. That's funny. Haha.
Okay, I did like that. That was a chuckle-worthy
That's the thing
moment.
is that there are things in this movie that are enjoyable.
This movie might have the best comedy
Yeah.
of the
Really?
three.
I think so.
The jokes land the best for me here in this third one.
Okay, give me a favorite.
Kylo Ren shrug.
Oh yeah, when he gets the lightsaber. Yeah.
But that's funny because
Ben
he knows
Solo.
the movie's done. That's the only reason it worked.
No.
If the movie was great and he did that, it would be so misplaced.
Sure.
But because the movie is ass and you're like, what the hell am I doing? He's like,
No, I thought it was
me neither,
great.
guys.
I thought it was
Good.
cool.
I
liked it.
love and I also really love when C-3PO, they come around the corner and they're like, the Aki Aki festival that happens every 42 years. And he just goes on. And like, they're all clearly pissed that this is happening. And he's just like, oh, isn't it wonderful? And they all turn around to look at him. And he just turns around and looks because he doesn't realize they're just like, come on, there's some good stuff.
This is another dumb thing, but like when they're like, oh, we gotta wipe out his memory and stuff like that. It's like this. So I hate that part so much.
the fake out, right?
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
looking at my friend.
Well, see, I do want to
That's a good line.
Exactly.
Wasted in that moment.
Right. I agree. And I do want to talk about these things.
Oh, yeah.
I just meant we should get the
Yeah,
most
this is-
egregious crap out
Oh,
of the
can
way.
I
This is
have
hard.
one last
It's
most
hard,
egregious thing?
man.
Yeah.
Previously, we've talked about jokes that cut the tension or just didn't fit.
Right.
Here's a joke that actually stung and I think hurt the character relationships. When Rey gets Phasma and she's like, I've never seen anything like this before. And, Finn is like, I've never seen so few Sith Wayfinders before. I was like, why I
you
know
being a
things are
dick right
tense,
now?
but
Yeah.
what's going on? Like, I
was-
thought we were friends. If
Yeah.
someone said that to me, I'd be like, excuse me?
All right,
I didn't-
peace.
Right. I didn't think that really ruined it that much, but I do agree that it was
Egregious.
kind of just a dumb line decision. I think really we should take a minute to just talk about Carrie Fisher, Leia in this film. Like you said earlier, they really wanted to, be respectful and give her a proper send off and everything. And, they tried their best. Unfortunately, it just kind of doesn't work in this movie for me. She's just out of place, but not. And I know they really specifically tried to craft these scenes to fit what footage they had
Yeah.
from her that they hadn't used from episode 7. But she doesn't even really look too out of place, visually. I can believe that she's in the scenes enough, but it's just the way they construct the scenes. Her interactions are so hollow and obviously, manufactured
Yeah.
in the edit that she doesn't feel like Leia, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because listen, it's like an impossible task.
Oh yeah.
You want
I would not wish that on anybody.
you want to be able to respect and honor this person because of who they are. But when you literally do not have them, how can you really do that,
It's rough.
In one of the behind the scenes, they mentioned about how when it came to Carrie, whatever scene she was in, they would work the scene around her, and that's what made her so memorable because she's such a personality, and she the way that she approaches her craft is very specific to her. So you can't replicate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it again, with it feeling hollow, it's unfortunate because it feels especially hollow when it was once filled with someone that was so vibrant, you know. So yeah, like I can't blame them for missing the mark on it because again, it's an impossible task.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
I think I can't criticize it for two reasons. One, because of my aforementioned resignation, I honestly didn't even notice something was off until years later. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. But the first time around, I was like, yeah, okay.
Cool.
Oh, cool. Yes, master.
Right. Yeah.
But the second thing is, it's a grieving cast and crew. They did their best. I mean, what am I going to say? You know?
Right.
Walking away from the behind the scenes, I definitely felt like Billy Lord was, one, woefully underused.
Right.
Throughout the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Billy Lord is incredible.
But I came out with the most sympathy for her as a member of the thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, it's a lot. It's hard. I mean, I commend them for trying valiantly.
Yeah,
I commend them.
That's a good moment of silence for her.
What do you guys think about the Chewbacca thing? Like the fake out there. I mean, like
So
what's
dumb.
what's the point?
It was so dumb. Because, like,
I get, okay, we'll raise Mopey now because she thinks she killed Chewie.
she wasn't even that mopey. She, at the moment, when it happened, but the next scene,
Oh,
she's
she
cool.
did scream.
Yeah, in the moment, in the next scene,
She
she's
reflected on it. She did reflect on it. But the movie is so fast-paced, you don't even feel it, really.
cool. When the thing explodes, you don't even, it's like, oh, okay.
And also, like, I don't know.
Actually-
I just kind of already, like, even the first time I saw the film, I caught that there was 2 transports in the shot. It's like before that you see that and it blows out. It's fucking stupid.
The thing is that we were watching the movie together, and Chewbacca dies. You go to the bathroom, and you come back into the theater. I was like, hey, Chewbacca's back.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good time.
You know, it's funny is that after they find out he's alive, and Rey has to go launch that like rescue from Kylo's destroyer, just no tension. Like, you know, nothing's gonna happen on this destroyer.
And I mean, like, yeah, they're running around blasting a million stormtroopers. The stormtroopers, you know, this is one of those times where it's like they have the ability to use stun weapons, but yet they don't. They just keep running at the heroes until they can surround them and be like, stop. It's just like,
Silly stormtroopers, stun weapons don't work against me.
what? How idiotic. It's just so stupid.
And insofar as the first movie could build its entire thing around infiltrating a spaceship, and this one's just a throwaway, I mean, it just shows you the difference here, right, and how they're treating these subject matters.
Yeah, I can't even. There's too many things to be mad at. I can't even pick which ones are worth talking about.
Yeah, sometimes I can't pick between if I'm mad about it or if I just think it's funny.
Yeah. I really am mad, though, that C-3PO gets all of his memories put back in R2-D2.
Yeah.
Completely deflating that moment.
Yeah, because because they use that moment in the trailer, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? That's sad, and they waste it completely.
And it makes me wonder what's going on behind it, because they don't cover any of that stuff. Did Anthony Daniels speak up and he's like, that's not what's going to happen to my character? Because somebody has to explain what's going on.
Yeah, he had nothing to do with that. I'm sure he thought that was a really great moment for his character, and I don't know why they decided to basically undo it.
Wasteful.
That's just stupid. It's one word, Rise of Skywalker. Stupid. Just come on.
Stupid.
Wasn't Babu Frick also supposed to die?
Well, why? We knew him for 10 minutes.
Yeah, he was supposed to die, and they're like, you can't do that to him.
Well, that's the thing. It's like
Was it George Lucas who said it?
No. I don't know.
You're just making rumors happen.
It doesn't really matter. But the thing is, yeah, Babu Frick, I don't think was supposed to show up in the end battle when he's in the cockpit with Zori Bliss. But we weren't supposed to see that he dies specifically, but he was going to be on that planet, Kijimi, that they blow up with the one Star Destroyer. So, yeah, technically, sure.
Could you guys remind me what happens to that Star Destroyer? That's the one she infiltrates?
No.
So what happens to that one?
That's what I'm confused about. I mean, I think it just goes back.
Dude,
to
they should just
Exegol.
make a...
No, it definitely does, because if you pause and look at the crew members, whoever is captaining the ship, that lady, she's in the
she's
Battle
back
of
in the thing.
Exegol. Yeah.
Would have been a great Hunt for Red October spinoff. Lone
Oh man,
planet
Those guys
destroying
just
Star
going
Destroyer.
through, yeah. Jesus Christ, what a way to ruin a franchise. A more nitpicky thing, I guess. It was very sloppy the way they tried to explain Rey being a Palpatine.
Yeah.
Obviously. What I can't get over is how stupid it is in terms of like the actual specifics of it. Because that guy Ochi was sent to like find Rey, bring her to Palpatine, correct?
Yep.
So he finds her parents on Jakku, takes them up in his ship, and is like, "Where is she?" And they just go, "She's not on Jakku." And he goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to kill you." And that's it. That's as hard as he tries? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously.
Come on.
And the thing is, like, and it's not like she was well hidden. She's with this fucker, Unkar Plutt. He would have sold her out the second they came to ask him.
They didn't even ask Unkar Plutt. What was Unkar?
And Jakku isn't a big place. Like, it's a planet, yes, but there are clearly not very many settlements on this planet.
And you already know the guy you're looking for. It's Unkar Plutt.
Well, no, they don't know that guy. They're like,
Oh, the Unkar-
Ochi wouldn't know that guy,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
right? Because why would he know that guy?
JJ says in the behind the scenes, and again, it's gonna sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's because the movie is repeating itself. JJ says, yeah, I mean, the whole Star Wars saga is just like a story about the Skywalkers and the Palpatines. So it made sense that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. And I tell you, fellas, that was the moment my
Excuse me?
spirit flew out of my body. I ascended to heaven that night.
I totally get what he's saying, but also no.
Yeah, look, if you feel
It's
that
just
way, dude,
stupid.
then where was that in episode 7?
Yeah,
Then where
that's-
was that in episode 7?
See, that's why it's like, JJ, why did you even come back to do Rise of Skywalker? You're like, this only is going to hurt you.
Should have had Rob Zemeckis do it. Is he alive?
They would have made everyone wear a motion capture suit.
Yeah, JJ, like, and wrapping shit up and ending it is hard when you don't give a fuck about like the way he started it.
JJ
It's
is
just rough.
literally, dude, like having the cheese frittata, and someone's like, Palpatine. He's like, oh, let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
I like Palpatine.
Sorry,
I
JJ.
No, I'm not
I
sorry,
don't mean
dude.
to pick on him so much,
But
but
it's
it does
like,
seem like there's a lot to be mad at him about.
Do you guys want to talk about the characters like more specifically?
What's to say?
Well, here's
Just tell me what's to say.
here for the 4 characters. So Poe, since I have the least to say about him, I did not like him until the 3rd movie. So
Right.
by the end of the trilogy, I'm like, cool, fine. Kylo Ren, great character.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
He's dope. I think he's the most compelling part about this entire series. And we'll talk about it more, but that's just how I feel. Rey, I like her more. Her story is good on paper. I don't think it was executed well. Finn, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry what they did to this dude. Because it could have been cool.
And John Boyega has not been quiet about it. He has been vocal about Finn's complete railroading in the series.
Yeah.
It's sad to see.
You know what's really like kind of confusing and annoying is that The Last Jedi, sure, they don't use him. Definitely, they don't use him as well as they could have. But it's not like they didn't like cap it off and like leave them no room to work with for Rise of Skywalker. They could have had Finn do a lot more. They could have had him, I don't know, he could have been training with Rey. I don't know. They could have done anything.
Bro, Finn deadass gets kissed in the end of Last Jedi, and he just doesn't know this chick anymore. Oh,
When I saw that that shoulder pat, I was like, oh,
my gosh.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I mean, I don't even know what happened there with, I'm sure Kelly Marie Tran doesn't really care that she wasn't as involved.
yeah, no, she
I would not want to be that involved either after all that happened.
Why didn't anyone scream out during the table read, "This is cringe! This is all cringe! Stop!"
Yeah,
It's
we'll
all
introduce
cringe."
this other
They
girl.
locked that guy in the basement.
Who's the other girl?
They locked that guy
I forgot
away.
her name, but at the end she makes a face at Orlando and stuff.
Was it Jana? Was that her?
Jana,
name?
yes.
Jana.
Yeah.
Or think, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
no, that's correct. But yeah, I just feel so bad about it because they made him out to be like a face of the story, and they did pretty much nothing with him. And going back to The Last Jedi, I thought he should have died
Seriously.
in that one part because it would have been a good thing for his story arc. But, you know, it's not up to me. I didn't make that choice. I thought Poe should have died in Force Awakens.
Yeah, but I mean, that's...
As much as I liked him in Rise of Skywalker.
That really would be the Star Wars gritty reboot if like 2/3 of our trio died by the end. And
Yeah.
hey, it's a bold move.
True. Well, technically, Poe, I mean, wouldn't really be considered part of the trio if he...
You know, that's the thing. Like, I guess not, but also like by the end of it, he is. And it's also like the first time Rey and him meet each other.
I don't know. It's a lot of weird decisions here. A good way to roll off of that is that, you know, I mean, at the end of this movie, when they're all celebrating, when they've finally done it or whatever, they won, right? I just find myself sitting there like, okay, you guys beat the Empire before and you were all happy about it. And then, like, why is this supposed to be happy now? Because we finally beat them? Are you sure there isn't like a bunch of stormtroopers hiding somewhere, rebuilding everything right now?
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
just
like,
so
you don't-
like stupid.
You don't feel like you've won at the end of the movie.
This celebration at the end just does not feel earned at all for this trilogy. It just doesn't.
Killed the best character.
Poe.
True.
Shut up. You Peasler.
Peasler. Yeah, Poe doesn't get kissed. All right, whatever. I guess we can't have anything.
I'm okay with that. He doesn't need to be kissed. He's fine.
Sounds like you're
Yeah, I don't
Poe-phobic,
know.
bro.
Poe-phobic?
Excuse me? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I said that Rey's story works on paper, but this is very lonely person who doesn't really have this identity. And I think I forgot who you were watching who mentioned that part of the problem with Rey's character is this mystery, why it's so hard to, like, get on the same page and, like, feel with her because so much of her past is you don't know. And the same thing goes for Finn, where it's just like you have this idea, but you don't know anything about them.
Yeah, but even Finn is easier to visualize in your head. Okay, here he is at like 10 training with his cohort of stormtrooper people. Here he is at like
Right.
15 being a janitor. But with Rey,
Sure.
has this person ever had a friend before? There doesn't seem to be any people of similar age in Jakku.
Yeah.
It's such a... She's Kyle XY.
And just for Rey to, like, the whole time she's trying to figure out her identity, who she is. And when she finds out that what she is the baddest of bad, to be able to understand what that identity is and still be like, no, fuck that, and then be able to define herself, I think that's incredibly powerful. However, it just wasn't well executed.
Yeah, it's unearned.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's mostly just the unearned part of it. I think that really bothers everyone.
Because you're telling me this, let's take it from a realistic character perspective. You're a literal nobody that everyone shits on your entire life, and you are the granddaughter of the baddest MFer in the galaxy. I would lean into that. Any normal human leans into that. You know what I'm saying? And so Rey's unearned massive act of sacrifice just doesn't add up at all. That would have been more interesting if Rey leans into that and Kylo's like, no, you have to come back, you know?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pull a grease too.
Sandy!
Well, you know, yeah. I mean, it's just there's so many things.
It's
in
electrifying.
hindsight. Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
I
just
had
like
to say that.
I feel like I've really kind of said all I want to specifically about that movie.
Are we going to talk about our favorite scenes? Pick your favorite scene from this movie. I do have a favorite scene, and it might be a little controversial based on things I've said earlier in this podcast. But the scene where Rey fatally wounds Kylo Ren and then heals him. And he has a moment with the ghost. It's not a Force ghost. It's just a regular ghost.
Yeah, regular ghost Solo. Why?
Yeah.
It's his memory.
I didn't even
His
think
memory
of
of
that.
his dad.
Yeah. I understand that it's a little bit of a stretch, but I really do love that scene. I think it's such a good moment for Kylo Ren and such a good moment for Han Solo because he was kind of an absent father, but for him to be this memory for Kylo means so much, you know? And the parallel between the scene that I did not care for at all in The Force Awakens, it brought so much more meaning to that. And even the part where Ben Solo is just like, Dad. And he goes, I know. Like, that makes me cry every single fucking time. And I know that I might just be a sucker for that kind of thing, but it's my favorite scene of the entire sequel trilogy.
Wow. That's high praise.
Yeah.
What's your favorite scene, Mo?
From this movie? Cool lightsaber fight with Kylo, whatever. Cool Kylo fights the Knights of Ren. That's my favorite scene. It's cool.
It's hard for me to even think of a favorite scene from this.
They fly now.
They fly now.
They fly now.
My spine has like...
Battlefront 2. Battlefront 1.
What's your favorite scene, Nick?
Nick is staring off into the distance. We think these are his last moments on this podcast. I don't think he wants to do Star Wars. He died.
No, wait. I can do this.
I don't know if I have the strength.
He's force projecting.
I know what I must do. Keep this all in.
He's force projecting.
He's actually crying.
I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this. I would also like to note that this was Nick's question on the rundown.
Did you go, Mo?
Let me do it again. My favorite scene. Cool lightsaber fight with Kylo and the Knights of Ren.
That was the favorite scene? Huh.
What else I got?
That's cool. That's cool. Great.
It's when Hux is like, I'm the traitor. Did you like that?
You!
Huh.
Oh, I know
Man,
your
this
favorite
is
scene.
hard.
It's when they get into that car and meet Lando and that guy.
Well, that's my favorite character of this
That's
movie.
your favorite scene.
That Lando
Okay.
gets into this, like, that little tank thingy that they go in. He's got his helmet on. He speaks some language. He's like, there's a, like a little, almost like a taxi cab, like slot where the driver is. And the alien, he's this weird looking alien, like a Muppet. And he just turns around and goes, okay. I don't know who that character is. Please figure it out. That's my favorite character.
Background hero of the week.
Yeah, geez.
Okay, guy.
Actually, I can't say it's my favorite overall scene, but favorite moment, I actually really love when Rey arrives on Exegol and she walks into the throne room and we first see that huge stadium of all the creepy Sith Eternal people.
Right.
And they're chanting. That was to me, that was pretty chilling. I liked that.
Okay.
And I thought they were going to expand on that.
Nope.
And they did not. But that's what I got. So anyway,
For those listening at home, don't disagree with Nick on this one, because he spent a solid 10 minutes searching his soul coming up with that, all right?
took a while. The last thing I want to talk about in regards to Rise of Skywalker before we move on and bury this thing for good is there's a group of the fandom that thinks Kathleen Kennedy and other high-ups at Disney sabotaged this movie purposely. They think that JJ has a better cut of this film that changes and fixes the story. Now, this is the kind of Mike Zero bullshit that I can't understand how anyone could believe. But I will say that technically the Snyder cut became a thing. But I don't want people to think that in any way justifies that there could be an existence of a JJ cut of Rise of Skywalker, because that's just false.
Yeah. The difference is that, Zack Snyder didn't finish directing that movie, and they did recuts and stuff like that. This was JJ's movie. He wrote it. He was part of it. He directed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
it's
finished
like,
it. He finished it.
This is the JJ cut.
This is it. This is what you get, okay?
Jeez, and it's
Eat
like
your slop.
Like how much can you really change? If this is the amount of shit that we got in this fucking movie, like how much can you're only going to be adding more shit if that was even a thing.
Right. I mean, it's already so long. I mean, how and there's so many random scenes in there. Like how could it get I don't know.
It's that conspiracy nonsense again. JJ is living in Argentina with Elvis and Hitler, and he's got the cut. He's got the cut.
Yeah, dude. Okay, well, get back to me on that.
Got the cut with Luke.
As we
Jedi
all know,
School.
no one's really happy with Kathleen Kennedy and her leading of the Star Wars franchise. You know, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they're going to fix the sequels. They're going to actually bring Mandalorian in.
Many fans have reported seeing JJ with Hitler and Elvis in Argentina.
Wait, was it Kathleen Kennedy who said that she liked Phasma?
Yeah.
Oh no.
That was her. I mean, that's part of her fault for sure.
Yeah, well, she does. She has faults. Let's say that for sure. But she also really wanted to work with Rian Johnson, which I think was a good decision.
So
Kathleen's not the villain here.
Yeah.
Kathleen is not the villain. Let's be serious about that. I mean, if you've seen anything about The Mandalorian, she's clearly been pretty helpful in making that show successful. So I think Baby Yoda was her idea.
Oh.
Wow, look at that.
A redemption story.
Yeah, I want to see the Kathleen movie. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. Give me the Kathleen cut.
The way that Phasma came into play was originally that character design was for Kylo Ren, but J.J. Abrams didn't really see Kylo Ren as like a chrome person, you know. But Kathleen saw the mock-up or the concept art rather of what would be Captain Phasma, was like, we need this in the movie, and it's so it's unfortunate that they went along with that decision, because it's cool that Phasma is a woman for sure. It's cool that we have like the actor who plays Phasma is like you don't. The way that you interact with this character is by seeing her through her decisions rather than.
Yeah, she doesn't even really make decisions.
Exactly, which I guess the decision
Barely.
to be a stormtrooper or like a gold star stormtrooper or whatever the fuck, you know.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I want to say though, like, just because they wasted her character doesn't mean like that the design of the character has anything to do with that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to disagree with you guys in that. I thought it was a good thing that Kathleen picked this character. That was good of her. It's a good character. It's a cool costume. Let's put it in the movie. I agree. They failed to utilize that character entirely.
I don't think the costume's that cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's just whatever. It's a silver version of the stormtrooper costume. That's not that cool to me.
But
If you like it, that's great.
Yes, but costume, like female stormtrooper, villain, all that stuff was cool.
I do conceptually think that it could have been really cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
The way that they could have spun it to utilize, like my originally, I thought what they wanted to do with Phasma is to have like a similar thing with Boba Fett, where it's someone who doesn't really do anything or blah 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 blah. But after watching the behind the scenes, it's a little bit more developed than that. But you can't purposely make something like Boba Fett, like have that reaction towards a character on purpose. You can't do that
Unless it's the Mandalorian.
I mean, it doesn't work
I was
in
just
the
joking.
same way. Like it.
Yeah, I was just joking. I know. I mean, like, I think we've talked about it off the podcast, but you know, obviously, the reason Boba Fett worked so well was because George Lucas literally had no idea that he was going to be that popular. George Lucas would have given him way more to do if he had known he was going to be such a fan favorite character. He said this in interviews back after Return of the Jedi released or whatever.
Yeah, and there's such a difference between the characters too. Like even just with their armor, you know. Again, like with Boba Fett, you see him and you want to know more about where he's from.
Yeah, right. It's so totally unique from the other, like, Imperial armor.
Yeah, whereas Phasma is just silver stormtrooper. Like, you get it.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll throw one to the fans here where it's just kind of like bullshit gaslighting that people don't like to hear. Like, just don't say anything about it, right? You failed to utilize this character. It was a total bust. Like, everyone knows it. Everyone saw it. And you're like, well, actually, we wanted it to be like this other guy. Shut the hell up, man.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that.
Well, and here's the thing, like, why, if you want this character to be a strong female antagonist and whatnot,
The first.
Right.
Someone didn't play Fallen Order. What was it called? I played the game, I swear, guys.
Well, that was after The Force Awakens.
Whatever.
But what about Asajj Ventress?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dope.
Anyway,
What about Shmi Skywalker?
best villain. It's just the thing is, if you want her to be so powerful and you want her to like have a presence in the film and whatnot, why wait? Like, it's not even like she got wasted after The Force Awakens. She was already immediately wasted in the first film that they put her in.
And it sucks when you hear Gwendolyn Christie's behind the scene and she like put some real thought into the character,
Yeah.
I felt, and is bringing a level of acting weight. She's
Right.
part of like the cast that
She's
everyone's
trying
celebrating.
really
Yeah.
hard to do something. And my question was, why bring her back in The Last Jedi?
Yeah.
And then why not bring her back in The Rise of Skywalker? I don't understand any of these choices.
It's like that final fight between her and Finn was like over who would be the most useless in the sequel trilogy because
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
That's a gold star joke.
guys-
there.
thank you.
Now that I think about it, do you guys think that the reason she's not in The Rise of Skywalker is because of probably the inevitable giant downturn of merchandise sales after The Force Awakens for her character?
Yeah.
I mean, it would not surprise me.
Maybe.
I'm shrugging, guys. I'm shrugging.
No
For
clue.
those of you listening at home, I'm shrugging.
No clue why that. It's just stupid ass decisions all over the place. And then, I mean, like in the same exact vein, that why the fuck do the Knights of Ren matter?
Oh, yeah.
Why do they even exist? Like those red guards in The Last Jedi did infinitely more than the Knights of
Yep.
Ren.
Yeah. No one can say nothing about them. It's going to be in the comic book, Nick, so suck it.
Well, there are comic books or whatever, but I don't care, guys. I will read them, but I don't care. Like that
If you
doesn't.
guys want to buy them and send them to our house, that's fine, but I don't care.
Here's my address. No, but it's just
If you guys want to write a fan fiction where we're the Knights of Ren,
yeah, and the book, the novelization of Rise of Skywalker, actually does make it clear that the Knights of Ren actually all along were in service to Palpatine. Firstly, they're not used. They're called the Knights of Ren, so if you never explain that in the movies, people are going to be confused why they decide to kill Kylo.
I didn't really process them at all.
Yeah, literally, like if you took them out, absolutely nothing would change.
Yeah, they could have been in secretly service to Dexter's Diner, and it would have been the exact same thing, in my opinion.
Honestly,
Knights of
what
Dex.
what a waste of costuming and concept and screen time.
But you know what?
and
It's leading
and what?
it's leading to a big revival of dressing like an emo in the desert. So that's coming back.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
good stuff.
because that was a thing.
Hey, it was on its way out until they revived it. Can we talk about my favorite character?
Sure.
General Hux! Ba-ba-bam!
Ew.
I am so evil. I've heard about you Ewok Talk in your podcast, and I will destroy you guys.
Is that Domhnall Gleeson? Wow.
Hey, how's it going, old?
That's a good impression. I like that one.
No, look, I think he was always an overactor. He was overacting like crazy. That's the director's fault. It's not necessarily his fault.
He makes
But-
me laugh.
He makes
Like,
me laugh.
I don't know, man. Like at the very least, he made me laugh.
I think there is a little bit of a culture shift here where the Nazis of the late 1970s were these like dignified, like, yes, we must conduct the final solution, like Grand Moff Tarkin style. And today's Nazis are, and look, that's what the people want to see. That's literally what it was. It's that simple of an explanation. That's what it is.
But then why does his character change so drastically?
Because people like working with him. They want to keep him in the movie.
Everyone's talked about it. That line of like, I don't care if like you guys win, I just need Kylo to lose. It's like I totally understand that like, his goals don't align with Kylo's anymore. And since the Supreme Leader's gone, he's kind of like, why am I like he's probably just what the hell am I doing here anymore? But just the way he's going about it is so stupid. It's unbelievable.
Is Hux in charge of anything? Because in Force Awakens, it looks like he was kind of in charge.
Force Awakens, it seems like he's like the second in command.
Right. He acts like he's Hitler, when he's talking to the troops and stuff.
And the way that he dies, too, is so, like...
Get that guy out of
It's
the way.
like he wasn't in the last 2 fucking movies.
Exactly. You know what? I'll repeat it here. They're acting like Hux is new, but it's actually Commander Price that's new. It's unreasonable.
Yeah. Where has Allegiant Pride, General,
Allegiant
or
Pride,
whatever? Well, like, where has... I know the answer is they just needed this guy, so they wrote a random dude in, but this guy would have been great to have in the other 2 films as, like, another commanding officer.
A Hux foil, kind of.
Yeah.
Like Commander Kennedy was in The Force Awakens, I guess. Nobody remembers him? It's cool. He's basically Allegiant Pride. He's like, I hate the rebels.
In The Force Awakens?
Yeah, there's another shorter, fatter, older commander who's more serious. Sorry.
What?
Shorter, fatter, and more serious.
Are you talking about The Last Jedi?
Oh, sorry, that is The Last Jedi. Sorry, yes, Commander Kennedy, sorry.
Oh, yeah, the guy in the Dreadnought.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. Like, that guy would have been interesting to keep around a little bit.
I actually thought it was the same guy until somebody looked on IMDb.
Oof. What a life.
And one other nitpick here. Kylo goes into the Imperial boardroom and he's like, we need to find a spy. And everyone's like, oh, I don't know where a spy is. And then Kylo's like, Hux, I read your mind. You think my mask looks weird. And it's like,
Dude, you're so right. Like, what the fuck?
you got that? But not the other thing?
Jesus Christ.
Also, they asked in the behind the scenes, they're like, Kylo's mask, it was about this Japanese fusion art where you put the broken pieces together with gold.
Just shut up. Just shut up.
Just shoot me.
It's like,
It doesn't
make sense with his
it doesn't
character.
Fit.
It just doesn't.
Because I know what you're talking about. I forget what it's called, but yeah.
Yeah,
no,
we totally get it. Like, it's supposed to show that he was once broken and now he's put back together, yada, yada,
and
yada.
like the imperfections are,
But, like,
are what make it.
This is like
Right.
one of those Facebook sad posts.
I didn't interpret the scene in The Last Jedi of him just being ashamed of himself and wanting to destroy his helmet. I thought I interpreted that as him growing beyond needing the
Yeah,
helmet.
that's
Empowering.
also what the helmet makes him feel stronger.
It's just so stupid.
Sorry, there's just so much about this sequel trilogy.
Getting all the toxins out.
Yeah, this isn't really a formal essay or anything like that. It's just the
Pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's just the conversation.
Leave us a like.
Yeah, it's just a genuine conversation of this experience, So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanted to bring up before we go on to faves or positive things.
I think I'm ready to just end this with some positives and just enjoy the rest of my weekend.
For positives, I think, again, I'll just go back to my original positivity about The Force Awakens. Kylo Ren and BB-8, they're great. I think BB-8's a fun character. I'm going to love him forever. And I really appreciated Kylo Ren's story. I appreciated Adam Driver's role in Star Wars. I think he took it seriously enough, and I like how it progressed. And as frustrating as these movies can be, and being in this fandom for the last few years has been, that is something that I will always look back on and be like, that was great.
Yeah, I seriously agree. The Kylo stuff really sticks out to me. And I'm gonna leave it with a favorite quote. Star Wars has always been very quotable. I'm your father, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what will live on, in this trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I'll give you 2, one funny and one not. But the funniest one, in my opinion, is the amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Yeah.
Came at a tough
that's a
couple
good
of weird
one.
places,
Yeah.
but it was hilarious. I'm going to use that a lot. And definitely, I think the most memorable quote was from Kylo at the end of Last Jedi. And he's like, it's time to let old things die. And I thought that was like the bold vision that we need in a leader in this country today. Am I right? Hallelujah.
Okay. I'd like to go with talking about my favorite new alien species, because I feel like they actually do incorporate a bunch of new aliens and whatnot, but like a lot of them, I'm not so hot on, and also they don't really get that much time to shine. But if you guys remember from, they're just like scattered throughout. There's this new species called abednitos, and they're actually, it's what's kind of cool is like most of them are actually named after like Beastie Boys songs because J.J. Abrams likes the Beastie Boys and he used their music in the Star Trek remakes and whatnot. So it's kind of like an homage to that stuff. So like one of their names is like Elo Asti instead of. But I do like the aliens, and they're seen as like some of the Resistance pilots. There's that one guy that sits next to Poe in The Last Jedi. Poe's like, oh, that's Holdo? And the guy's like, Yamcha. And I'm like, dude, love you.
That guy speaks English too, which is great.
No, he doesn't. I don't think he does.
Yeah, he does. He does in Force Awakens. He's part of the Black Squad.
No, that's a different one. But I'm glad you recognize that's the same alien.
Oh, wow.
It's the same alien species, but it's a different guy.
Ding, 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 ding.
Because he actually dies in Force Awakens.
Rip.
Rip.
Abnito.
That's also the alien species of the guy who rats on Finn and Rose for parking on the beach.
Oh, yeah. No wonder. I feel like I saw him everywhere. Yeah. Oh, wow. Now I feel dumb as
that's
hell.
my favorite. That's my favorite new alien because they just like they're.
Yamcha.
And he's actually that's also the race that Cal Kestis, his buddy on the mining planet.
Oh my God.
See,
You're blowing my mind.
Nick knows
wide
an
open.
Abnito when he sees one.
Yeah, I feel like a real Abnito right now.
Yeah, that guy Prof. That's his name.
Prof, dude, he was the man.
Yeah, dude.
Come on, Cal.
I like that alien species. You can tell that these people had a huge appreciation and love for the original trilogy, and they really wanted to bring practical effects back into film. And this actually came, like, at least Force Awakens came out in a time where you didn't really see that often. Like, there hadn't really been a lot of practical effects and things like this, and like building these big sets for a while. Like, things in the late 2000s were like shifting more and more and more to like relying on CG technology, you know? Like, I'm glad that they really cared enough to make those decisions and like push for trying to do these things practically and make them feel real. Mm-hmm. At the same time, ironically, I think that they've kind of made the same mistake that a lot of people have problems with in terms of the prequels. Because, a big thing is they're like, oh, they're really so focused on CGI and blue screen effects and pushing the technology in the prequels that George Lucas like didn't develop the story well enough and the dialogue and whatnot and make us feel for those characters. And I feel like that can be said about the sequel trilogy in terms of like they tried really hard to like create practical effects and give us like these beautiful looking films and whatnot and these good character moments and things like that. But it's just all in service of a very flimsy story that falls apart as soon as you pull a thread, They just really were trying to capture that magic of Star Wars, like the original Star Wars, And in that respect, I think they succeeded on levels, but it was at the cost of like really figuring out a worthwhile like story to tell.
Star Wars has always been culturally a product of its time, obviously. And each iteration focuses on different things that, reveal our cultural anxieties and so on. Mm-hmm. And so it shouldn't be surprising that this iteration of Star Wars really got caught up in the culture wars. It was all about, new versus old, right?
Yeah.
Zoomer versus boomer, if you will. It's about feminism or not. It's about white masculinity or it's not. Like, these things are gonna play a part. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how the fans react to it is gonna play a part. Not to get all poetic about it, but it's kind of like the problem that we're having in the country today, right? Where we're trying to locate an identity. We're trying to grab these old stories that made sense to us, but they might not fit for a new generation.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like this iteration felt a little hollow. It felt like too much like trying to force the old on us.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a combination between what both of you have already said. It's a flimsy story, and this trilogy doesn't know what it's trying to be. Granted, again, this is an insanely hard task to put together a Star Wars trilogy for something that is from scratch, quote unquote. But I do second that it really comes down to bad writing. I really wish that they took good things take time. Like, that's just the truth. And I wish that they took the time, because so much has been put into it. So much effort has been put into these. So if they took the time to at least get the story down, I think it would have been worth it, you know? But now we just have all these people who are fucking angry at each other all the fucking time.
Right, yeah. And I'm really glad that people have had such a unanimously positive reaction to The Mandalorian and seem, more excited about the future of Star Wars now. So it's kind of nice to put these movies in the past. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. And I think the fans killed it.
Beautiful.
As we do.
End scene.
If there's any other comments, questions, things you want to put out there before we sign out, now is the time.
We've covered so much,
Right.
but have also covered so little.
I feel like we got most of it, though.
Yeah, like, I don't want it to seem like we don't appreciate the people who worked on these movies, because you can tell, like, besides the experience of the movie itself as the fan, like, I'm sure that while people were making these movies, they had a really good time. They had a really great experience, and I would never want to do anything that would take that away from them. Like, yeah, you can tell from the behind the scenes and everything is that, like, people were happy being a part of this, and that's great. Except for maybe Kelly Marie Tran. But, that's not because of the movie itself.
Yeah, Ewok Talk is all Tran stands. We stand Tran.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think she's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, ultimately, these films, they were made to excite Star Wars fans and inspire a new generation of Star Wars fans, Whether it did that or not isn't really ours to say, being, we're not the audience really there. I don't think that they were going for as much. But you got to remember, it wasn't really long ago when the prequels were very openly hated by a lot of people and considered not Star Wars by the masses. And although the sequel trilogy may be dead to a lot of fans right now, it will certainly find life once again in the future. If anyone is interested in watching behind-the-scenes content from the sequel trilogy, we have a playlist that we put together to do research, so you can check that out by clicking the link in the description. All right, guys. That's literally all we have to say about this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Ewok Talk to become part of the tribe. If you want to see more of our content, you can follow me at Bobby_Fut on Instagram or Maladaptive Films on YouTube.
You can follow me on Instagram under Bitter Baguette, or you can follow me on YouTube under Bitter Peaches. Yeah.
You can add me on Facebook. My name is Muhammad Salahin. You'll find me. I just want to give a shout out to my friend Josh. Thanks for sitting through The Last Jedi with me. Really appreciate your insights on it and your help with the project, at least when it came to my opinion.
You really hated that movie, man. Talking to you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
And as always, dub dub.